All right.
Hello, everyone. It is the day that we are going to be discussing Carmilla. This is the version of Carmilla that we have been reading all month. It is the edited copy by Carmen Maria Machado. We love this copy. We also read in tandem the graphic novel by Amy Chu and Sue Lee. And Jess is going to take over for me and discuss some Alien April stuff for the crypt. Take it away, Jess.
Okay. So next month, hi, I'm Jess, by the way. I have a YouTube channel where I upload reading vlogs every Saturday, or reading vlogs and bookish videos, and then also read with the crypt and talk about it here. And next month, we are doing a little bit of an Alien April. And the pick that which you guys voted for over in the Discord is Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes. This one is a sci-fi book. It's Titanic meets The Shining in S.A. Barnes's Dead Silence, a sci-fi horror novel in which a woman and her crew board a decades-lost luxury cruiser and find the wreckage of a nightmare that hasn't ended yet. A ghost ship, a salvage crew, unspeakable horrors. Claire Kovelk is days away from being unemployed, made obsolete when her beacon repair crew picks up a strange distress signal. With nothing to lose and no desire to return to Earth, Claire and her team decide to investigate. What they find at the other end of the signal is a shock. The Aurora, a famous luxury space liner that vanished on its maiden tour of the solar system more than 20 years ago. A salvage claim like this could set Claire and her crew up for life, but a quick trip through the Aurora reveals something isn't right. Whispers in the dark, flickers of movement, words scrawled in blood. Claire must fight to hold on to her sanity and find out what really happened on the Aurora before she and her crew meet the same ghastly fate. We are very excited about this one. I have never read an S.A. Barnes, but S.A. Barnes has another book coming out this year, which is in the same genre of this sci-fi horror that seems to be working for them. Because they also have romance books that you would not be able to tell by looking at the covers.
And we love an author with range.
Yes, exactly. Do you know what the pen name is on the romance books?
I do not, but I believe it's listed in her Instagram bio.
Okay, I'm Stacy
Cade
is the name of the author.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I remember seeing these books before. So the author of our book for next month, which is a sci-fi horror, also wrote The Ghost and the Goth, which is like a teen romance.
Oh, yeah. I remember seeing that plastered everywhere for a while.
And it's a whole series, and that is just so amazing. So I'm so excited to read what's it called again? Dead Silence with you guys next month.
Not to be confused with the puppet movie of the same name.
Called Dead Silence?
Yeah, Kaylee was obsessed with it when we were kids, and I had to have been like 7 or 8 years old, and I had absolutely no business reading or being witness to any horror films at that age, but I was.
I remember this.
Yes, that she would rent it, and I think in a previous live or one of our discussions that we had as Modmens, Kaylee was like, "Yeah, I stole a copy from like Blockbuster or Hollywood Video, wherever we were renting videos from at the time, because we had both in the town."
Yeah.
And our parents had gotten so mad because she stole the copy, and then like it was going out of business, so she really could have bought it, but in her mind it was cheaper to just keep it. Like,
yeah, always back in the day, I have a few VHS tapes that have the Blockbuster stuff on them. I mean, whenever they started going out of business, you could purchase them, but some of them were in the clear case that they kept them in. Like, it was not a proper VHS.
I liked the clear cases when I got older and could actually open them. I remember hating them as a kid because I couldn't ever like somehow wiggle it out of the container. But that's a reflection of my poor motor skills, I'm going to be honest. So hi, no, you're not late. We actually started late today for a lot of personal reasons, and Laura is not going to be joining us tonight. She is not feeling well, but hopefully she will be here for either a future sprint or the next discussion. She's just under the weather, and Kaylee is trying to join us. She's just dealing with getting home from driving from downtown Houston, essentially, to an hour away from her home.
Yeah, send good vibes to Lady Tartan because she is feeling under the weather. But hi, Vimaroba. What's your name on Instagram? Or if you want us to call you by your real name, I'm usually good at that. Like I know Claudia is Ophelia.
See, I like to be concise. I'm like, nah, man. Any name that you see in anything, if it's the same name, that's what I'll go by. Because I do have like an alternate which I used for years and years and years, but I don't want anyone looking me up on that. So.
My name on Instagram has 3 S's. Cozy Jess.
I noticed.
And I wanted only 2 because I wanted it to be my name, but somebody has it, even with the underscore. And yeah, and I don't think they're active.
Oh, that sucks.
I know.
Like, it would be one thing if they were active, but they're not. And so it's just like waiting there tantalizingly, you know?
Yeah, because sometimes people will. Let's see. It doesn't show up.
Oh.
I don't know. Maybe they blocked me.
I hope not, because if it's available and they changed it, you might be able to swoop in and get it. You know?
I know. I do check every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I actually really don't know how this works anymore. Oh. Okay. Let's see if it's live. Okay, so Cozy Jess with 2 S's. Username isn't available.
Oh,
well.
That makes me sad. I'm so sorry.
Hi, Ashley.
I'm like switching between Canva and our slides to make sure they get all loaded. We are going to like harass Laura after this, letting her know just how much she has missed.
Yeah.
For sure. It is what it is. I think today was just like Ides of March Part 2 for everyone in the crypt. Except Jess is having a wonderful day with her kids because she has like
it's a 4-day weekend.
4-day?
4-day weekend.
I get Good Friday and Easter.
Yeah, so Good Friday, and then Monday is like the bad weather days. Do you remember those? Like
makeup days.
Makeup days. So you get it off if you didn't have to use it earlier in the year, and we get it. Oh, we're sisters. We're not, Mom. Vimaroba's mom. Is it the glasses? Is it the bad eyesight?
I mean, I'm about ready to link in my sister, and then you could like compare notes.
Yeah, that's the real Wonder Twins right there.
Right?
Literally.
We're not twins. We're actually like 3 to 4 years apart. Almost 4 years apart.
True.
But we still like the genetics. There's something in that gene pool.
Well, that's like Mary-Kate and Ashley. They're technically just sisters because they're fraternal, but they look so alike. So they pass as like identical. Is it the bad eyesight? I actually don't have that bad of eyesight. I only need them for reading.
Oh. Have you been lying to us about your eyesight then this whole time?
I use them a lot with this. Sometimes like to read the text, but honestly, it's just like if the text is too small, like if I can get it big on my Kindle, I can read without my glasses.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have not. I am very picky when it comes to my Kindle and the font size on it. I will not change it because I have it exactly at the font size that I like, that is similar enough to the font sizes in young adult books, which makes me read faster. But if it's any bigger, I feel like I'm slogging through the book somehow.
I get that. I change it around sometimes. It just depends.
Just depends on what.
So chaotic. I don't know. Just depends on my mood. Also, what do you guys think of my eyebrows? I'm sure in real life they don't look that good.
I noticed when you joined earlier, but I was busy and forgot to say anything. And I was like, they look nice.
Well, because I want to join the dark brow brigade, and like I always love
dark brows.
Yes. And my brows are so light, and so I get the little.
My mom dyes her eyebrows because she dyes her hair blonde, and I'm just like, I do not have the pain tolerance to accidentally cause chemical burns to my face to do that.
I've bleached my eyebrows.
Just no bueno. Absolutely not. I'm like double checking how many slides I've put in here, making sure I didn't accidentally copy a slide. I did text you the link, Kaylee. Where are you?
Oh yeah, it's in the Instagram.
She saw it. But I think I see her. Yay!
Right. She can introduce.
Hello.
Hey guys. Hey. Sorry about that, guys. Oh, let me move this over so I can see everybody's comments. Sorry.
Good.
Earlier today when we were headed here, well, I say when we were headed here, when my husband had jobs earlier today, before he started not feeling good, and in the race to get home, we forgot that it was Good Friday week. Like, we forgot it was Easter weekend. And so for us, we were like, oh, it's just a normal day. And then didn't quite realize that even though we left at 4:30, we would be hitting every single ounce of traffic all the way home. So we literally pulled in and I was running, and I hope I sound better today because I big girled up.
Yeah, it sounds really good.
Big girled up for everybody.
It sounds crisp. It sounds
Hello.
I just live to make Jess and Mackenzie proud of me. Now, tune in next time when I'm actually on time. So then they'll be really proud of me, and I'll get a gold star on my chart.
I have thought about making a bingo card specifically just for your habits of being on time to this. Which I feel bad about.
A bingo card.
We need bingo cards. We need Double Feature Creature card. Double Feature Creature Crypt. What will they say? What will they do?
Introduce yourself as.
I'm Kaylee of Kaylee Creates. I am the head ghoulagan around here, who this sprang forth from one day I was driving in my car and I saw the book Reluctant Immortals, and I was like, what would be a really good idea? And I immediately put on a party call. And for those who weren't born before landlines, that was when you called your friends on the landline and made your parents angry for paying additional charges, and called your friends at the same time. And I rang up Laura and Mackenzie, and I was like, hey, we should do this thing because I miss school, but I don't want to go back to school. And I have all of these thoughts, but I feel kind of dumb. But also, we're kind of on Bookstagram now, but also, do we do Bookstagram? But also, I would love to do Bookstagram. But also, I make art, but I kind of miss community. And I had all of these thoughts at one time, and both Laura and Mackenzie were like, okay, crazy, calm down. What if we did a little thing? And I said, yes. What if we did a little thing? And then here we are. And we also had Jess. Jess came along the
That's
way.
how I met Kinsey and
Yes,
Laura.
yes, because I absolutely fell in love with Jess and was like, I am
Okay,
I'm obsessed
for
with
everyone
you.
that wants to know the lore of how I met Kaylee and Laura, and also there's a few people that I follow on Instagram still. Shelby,
Yeah.
um,
Oh yeah,
I
Shelby reads. She's great.
I went to the location that Grady Hendrix did a book. I went to the on Instagram because I couldn't go in person. So I went and followed everybody that went and saw Grady Hendrix in Houston. And that's how I met Kaylee. And then we started voice messaging, and then the book club thing, and that's how I met Kinsey and Laura. Well, actually, I
Yeah.
had followed Laura and talked to her and didn't even realize the connection between
No.
y'all.
Well, and I remember I was so obsessed with Jess's Bookstagram profile for the longest time. And finally, I think there was like a mutual post and we stumbled upon it together and we were just like, I think we were like commenting on each other's
Oh,
comments.
the pallbearers club too.
Yes, yes. And we had like bonded over Pallbearers Club. And from then it was like, okay, you clearly have this beautiful knack for, oh yeah, I was doing a print for the Pallbearers Club. I was doing a design for the Pallbearers Club that I was just upset. I couldn't get it out of my head. And I was like, I can't remember what this thing is. And Jess, because I couldn't get like Kinsey hadn't read it, and Jess was like, she was just there. She was just digging through the dirt. And I was like, I like you a lot.
I figured out what kind of Polaroid, because my grandmother had, I was like, my grandmother had a similar one around that time period that she had kept. But yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about Carmilla because I'm very excited to hear from y'all what y'all think about it, because I feel like some of it went over my head.
Now,
It's okay. That's
do
why
we-
that's why we're here.
do we want the side or the top for our cameras?
Ooh.
I'm a top. Just kidding. I don't know why I said that.
I'm a switch, so I don't care. I'll go either way. Whoever bullies me into it, I don't mind.
I cannot believe.
Look, I tried to be a switch hitter in softball. It did not work. I am ambidextrous, but I have limits.
Ooh,
I've been
hold on.
watching too much Trixie and Katya, so that inappropriate.
Real talk, because I see Claudia's comment. I still need to read that in regards to the Pallbearers Club, and I will say, Claudia, I feel like if you enjoyed Carmilla, I feel like if you enjoyed Carmilla and you enjoy good for her horror, because we do, I feel like you will very much enjoy Pallbearers Club. I think both Laura, I think both Jess and I will agree, and Jess will correct me if I'm wrong. I think we both will agree. We listened to the audiobook and it slapped.
Yes. One of my favorite audio narrators, Exie Sands, narrates the part of Mercy, and she knocks it out of the park. It's a very uniquely written book. It's presented to you as a memoir that has been written in and scribbled little notes on the margins, and the way that Exie Sands can
He runs behind to grab the copy.
Yeah, mine's somewhere. I'm rearranging my shelves, so yes.
So there's like red scribbles for annotations of the parts that the other narrator reads. Because there's the normal book, and then there's like hold up. Oh, there we go.
But
like
I think that one of the reasons why we can't exactly read it for the Pallbearers or for the Double Feature Creature Crypt, not anytime soon, but we have been very vampire heavy, unintentionally.
Well, and I was thinking about this the other day because I kind of I called us out in our Modmin chat, and I was like, we've been doing so many vampire, but then I thought about it, and I'm like, how can I be mad at us for doing so many vampire books? When it's unintentional. That's very important. It is very unintentional. And B, we are in the middle of probably one of the most prolific,
resurgence of vampire novels that are
and
actually
it's
good.
not just a resurgence. I think it is one of the most just, and I use prolific because the way the vampire game has changed, which is why I think it was so important for us to do Carmilla, right? Like I think doing Carmilla this month and then like the fun additional buddy read next month for the side of Dracula Daily, not next month, of May, of Dracula Daily, I think is so helpful for everything that's coming out because the groundwork there, right? Like,
You might want to be at the top so that Kaylee doesn't get covered.
oh, nobody needs to see me. It's fine. I should be in the duck. Laura's not here. Somebody should be banished to the duck.
So
I'll
much
take the
vampire, and then
duck
I go and read Night's Edge right after Carmilla. I'm loving the vampire resurgence.
That's amazing. Sydney, let me just say, Night's Edge too, like that's a really good one. And like that was Liz's debut.
Yes. Well,
amazing.
It's her
Debut novel.
Adult debut novel. She did another novel previously. But I believe it was a different genre and it was a different publisher. And she will say that her voice has definitely changed and matured and she's found her footing. So this is, I think it's okay to say that this is her, like, this is her launch.
Ashley said you can't have too many vampires.
I mean, I feel like these people, I feel like the general might say something a little different. But I agree. But yes, you can't. I mean, right now in the resurgence, we can't really say that.
Exactly.
No vampires.
The resurgence, and like, of course, we unintentionally did this because we're drawn to this thing that is a lot of ways nostalgic for people, familiar, and like especially people around our age and stuff. And even Vampire Diaries was still going on not that long ago.
You bring up a really good point, Jess. People our age and the absolute, not a single one of the vampire books we have read have the same tone or talk about the same thing. And I think that is so important because I don't know about y'all, but almost all of the vampire books that I read when I was in middle school, shout out Mackenzie for this nugget I'm about to drop. Candy Carpenter. Yeah, baby.
Autistic icon.
Yeah, baby. She's got a great song. What is it? Songs about vampires, right?
Novels about vampires.
Novels about vampires. Novels about vampires. I was like, it's the song, and I'm gonna kill the title.
It's fine.
All of the books we read, right? Like the Vampire Diaries, Twilight. What else did we read? There, the Vampire Kisses. They all kind of like really revolve around the same thing. And I think it's so important in a generation that is really like we're really breaking a lot of these generational constructs. We're really breaking a lot of these like trauma ideologies. We're really discovering who we are, what we need as people. And not only that, but like our identities, our sexualities, all of these things I think are super important and come into play. And somewhere along the road, it's so interesting how vampires went from this you can't even say this like idealized creature, right? Like it went from being a product of its time, right? Which we will be getting into, but it turned into something that was so beyond hypersexualized and explicitly targeted towards women, right? Like in this like, oh, you should crave these very toxic things. This should be the ideal. And now it's like a bunch of this generation's waking up and we're like, well, should we have been telling a bunch of 11, 12, 13-year-old girls this is the
blueprint?
idea? Right. Like, should we have?
Also, and to answer, yes, we did kind of collectively read Knight's Edge.
Ooh.
I think we've all read it, Jess. You've read it, right?
Oh, hold on. The DFCC has not. The group, like the collective crypt, has not. The Modmins, we have.
Yeah.
We have.
We could make a section on the Discord like we did for Mayfly.
Yes.
If anyone wants to read it, yeah.
Yes.
Check that out. I have not read Mayfly. Oops.
It's okay.
That, if it's not made today, will be up tomorrow for that purpose.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's no time. There's
point.
no time limit or anything on that. Just whenever we put it up, if y'all have read Knight's Edge, y'all can hop in there.
And I try really hard that if I see that there are other close book clubs that we're associated around or with, that like we have a high like respect with or close knit with, I try really hard to like not do the same things or be like, hey, like, because a lot of us run in the same circles, but we try to like feed into each other and support each other.
The G3, the game group, love them.
They're amazing.
Any of y'all in the G3, holla.
Good shout out.
Strap in, y'all. It's gonna be a long one. I'm so excited to talk about this book. I'm excited to hear what you guys in the comments have to say, and I might even raise my rating. We'll see. We'll talk about it. I don't think
if you change your mind, let me know so I can update.
We'll see. We'll see.
I'm excited about
because
this.
math is involved.
Well, I'll keep it what it is but we'll talk about it. We'll talk through it. I'm very excited that all the things that like, because we'll talk about it.
I feel like I'm the person who's like, how much do I love this book? And that's my rating. I could have a lot of thoughts about the book and the quality of the book, but like at the end of the day, the rating for me is just how much do I like it?
Yeah.
And with that said, Carmilla is the blueprint. Yes. There are oral histories and spooky stories of vampires in existence dating back millennia. But vampire novels, as we have come to know, like Dracula, Vampire, Carmilla predates them and is the blueprint. So without further ado, we're going to go to our first slide.
Yes. So, there's a tiny fizzy. Sorry, guys.
How's that isolation and loneliness for you, Kaylee?
Not very isolating, not very lonely. So this was something that I had immediately off the bat had kind of picked up in the novel was I apologize. And I have my lovely little post-its in here. Hold on 1 second. I'm flipping to it. Oh,
I have
on page 4. On page 4, I literally have like my little tabby up here. It says isolation, and then I have down here. I'm so dramatic. I'm like my little post-its. It's like I'm
feral.
My copy of this one day, my hope is that one day when I am not hopefully I won't be a dead mom young enough, but if I become a dead mom to Fizzy at some time, I hope that she sees my texts and reads these and gets like a hoot and a half.
Kinsey, you looked concerned, but don't be, because I can confirm as a mom that this is something that goes through the head of a mom who's also a book tab or reader. I think about, or if anyone, like if I give the book away or like in a little free library, I actually bought a book at the used bookstore that's tabbed, and I'm excited to read it now because I get to see what this. I love used books because they've had a past life.
So I'm
Right.
a person who doesn't annotate for a lot of reasons, mostly because I'm just OCD and it bothers me. And if my handwriting is not exactly the same throughout, it will drive me mad.
I get that.
My face was in reference to that's my niece. That would be a lot of responsibility, and I don't live at home. And so I was like having a brief like panic attack.
I forget.
Like,
I'm like,
oh.
oh wait, we're related, right? Yeah, that does. I guess there is some responsibility
Concern.
there.
Well,
My thing-
Vima
and of course-
Roba's mom came in earlier and thought me and Kinsey were sisters. And
I
we were
love
like,
it.
you need to wait until Kaylee gets in here and have mom look at that. Because
Yeah.
that's the Wonder Twins.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of look like we're cut from the same cloth right now. So I feel like she'll walk back in and be like, "Are they all
Trip.
3 sisters?"
Brown, redhead,
Or
greenhead,
last time someone thought we were cousins.
redfish,
I love it.
bluefish.
I'm here for it. Redfish. Wait, one fish, two fish, redfish. Wait,
Redfish,
Dr. Seuss
bluefish.
fish. The Dr. Seuss fish. Oh my God, let me call her in right now.
Come on, mom. Come talk
Yeah.
about Carmilla.
Mom.
And she's going to walk in and just see isolation and loneliness.
Loneliness.
That's it.
We should probably get back to talking about isolation
Yeah.
and loneliness.
How this is. Okay, so how I had this, and honestly, I was like, the isolation. So the book like starts off right. It makes no bones, and it's very clear that we start in the forest opens in an irregular and very picturesque glade before its gate, and at the right, a steep Gothic bridge carries the road over a stream that winds in deep shadow through the wood. So we have a couple of barriers that happen with Laura, right? So Laura has, in my opinion, she's got 2 giant barriers that keep her isolated and lonely. And the 2 that I think were the biggest that popped up, right? Because people are like, how is she lonely? She's literally in like this big manor with like servants, and I don't understand, right?
Physically isolated. Physical terrain.
Well,
exists.
because there's 2 big barriers, right? Because she's got a class status barrier, right? There's a class status barrier, and then there's also the geographical barrier, because there's the your next neighbor is not for like another, like you got to go on the trek, which they do all. I don't want to say all the time in this book, but anytime it's important, they're on a trek. Like anytime something is gonna like be detrimental, they're going on a trek. I'm like, oh,
Yep.
Of course they are.
Yep. I like to personally believe the picnic that Carmilla and Laura had watching the
100%
funeral took place in the isolation cabin.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
my headcanon.
I love that for you. I love it. The parent trap. Love will keep us together.
Surprise, that's really the true setting of this entire story.
Right? And I love that even though that the servants, like, okay, so let's say that she does, decide, Laura does decide that she's gonna like get around the rules and befriend the servants and befriend everybody else. I mean, they're still not really in the house. Like they're attached to the house. Top one and bottom look very much alike, but if they took their glasses off, middle one could be their sister too. Oh.
That's what I said. Because I had glasses on earlier. I was reading the synopsis.
And then we all take them off, and now
Oh, you guys
who's
can't
related?
see. I can see. Mine are practically fake. My prescription is like 0.75.
I'm so not used to seeing Kaylee without her glasses now. It's weird.
It is weird.
Who is she?
But I'm not used to seeing
Not you.
either, Kinsey.
Who is she? Just guess. Guys want to touch my chest.
Okay, Big Red.
Okay, Vemaroba says,
And it wasn't even planned. I love it.
oh God, that's going to make it into a...
We all share one brain cell. We
That's
rent
we
it
do.
out
We
over
packed
periods
it.
of time.
That's
We
going to make
packed
it into a reel on Instagram.
I had to rent it before to do all the slides. and I haven't quite given it back yet. Who wants the brain cell next?
Oh God. Okay. I didn't really. This one was kind of hard for me. I'm gonna be honest. It's a classic, and I'm not used to listening to it. And I was telling Kinsey earlier that this is a book I'm going to reread physically because I don't remember if you were still on the phone, Kaylee, but because of the writing, it just kind of was hard to follow. So I didn't even pick up on some of this stuff, like isolation and loneliness. I'm just like, okay, this is a girl who got bit by a vampire. Like I'm very shallow surface level of this story.
Yeah. No,
but
I definitely went into this like, because I feel like I went into this with a little bit of a different lens, because I was like, what made this a classic? I was like, why did this hold up? Why does everyone say lesbian? Like,
yeah. That's all I knew about it. All I heard, because I had never even heard of this book until I joined Bookstagram and like the bookish area. Because yeah, no, I mean, I like literally didn't even know about one of my favorite books from last year, The Awakening by Kate Chopin. That book was amazing, and I did read it physically, and I do think if I would have read it audio, I wouldn't have liked it as much. Yes, definitely, Claudia. This one, I definitely should have got the physical copy. And now I know, which that's why it's taken me like 20 years to get through Little Women, because I don't want to read it audio. But yeah, so I'm definitely going to reread Carmilla, and then I'll raise my rating, because I feel like I could pick up on these things, these subtleties that are hard to translate whenever I'm like, what? These words don't make sense.
I had the same
copy in a box
issue.
sends to Jess.
Right. I had the same exact issue. So what I was doing was I was reading physically, and then once I like read a chunk of the book, I queued up the Audible narration with David Tennant, because we love our Doctor Who, and would just listen. And then I remember I had a moment where I got like through the first hour of the Audible version, and I had to stop and like compare notes with what was actually presented in here, and I was like, they changed some things. I don't disagree with the changes. It helps the narrative flow, and clarified things that still existed in that version but had confused me prior, because sometimes I get so bogged down with descriptive language, I have a hard time interpreting it in my mind's eye. So you could describe a beautiful, lovely, lush forest scene to me, and I will be like, there is a twig. So, but in regards to isolation and loneliness, I have tried to read Carmilla for years. This is the first time I've ever actually managed to finish it, and I am so thankful that I did not end up reading this in the pandemic, because I think it would have made a lot of things worse, like the actual isolation and loneliness of my experience being in an apartment in Japan and not being able to leave, or really go outside and talk to anyone in the same language always. And it just, I think, would have compounded those feelings, especially with reading this book. I lean more towards Laura being kind of an idiot and not seeing the writing on the very big wall or the tapestry in her room.
Well, and I think that, because that was something that, and I think this was something at the very beginning I had brought up with you, was it took me so long to read the book because I would stop every so often. And I would pull myself out and do some like actual research, which is some of my fun favorite little things to do with things like this, was the actual psychological effects of loneliness and being like that young and being that desperate for attention and being that um just in that mental headspace for so long, like that desperate for a friend, that desperate for connection of any kind, right? Makes you susceptible to so much.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just a matter of it, it's it's what people who are very charismatic are able to tap into, and love bombing and things like that are able to like easily extort for cults and
Mm-hmm.
such, you know? Like those are the things that
Now I have to
people.
ask, since you brought that up, do you think that's what Carmilla was doing, or Carmilla's mother?
So actually, I think no, I think you bring up a very good point, and that's something we actually let's write that down, and we will circle back to that at the end,
Okay.
because that's a really good thought. Hold on.
Because I do have a slide dedicated to the mom, so we can talk about it during that slide if that helps.
We're gonna have to talk about it, I think, post another character. We'll have to talk about it towards the end, I think.
Gotcha.
Whether this was recruitment or not. I think.
I have a lot of
might have
thoughts.
to-
Personally, I think it was.
I
Only because I'm
honestly,
just like head over heels for Carmilla being head over heels for Laura. So
I did not think about it until yeah, you bring up a good point that I was like, these men. I was so busy being focused about other
other
things that
characters.
yeah, well, and to be fair, I was kind of busy in my head fan casting new girl characters by the end of this that some things started to slip through the cracks a little
Do you
bit.
want to
But
share
that's
your
okay.
fangirl?
We'll do that
cast
later.
here?
We'll do that later.
Okay.
We'll do that later. But yeah, I think it was very important that to be drawn into this as very like to know that Laura is so desperate, right? Like for anything. Please share new girl cast in time. In time. I'm still
The surprise
solidifying
tool we'll
some
use
things.
later. It's fine.
Yeah, that's a surprise tool. I'm still solidifying some decisions on that.
Right.
But yeah, I think we can go to the next slide.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the next one's about the mom, right?
Yes, I think so. Yes, Mother Maiden
Close.
Crone. Yeah, so a couple things. I think it's important for us to acknowledge, right, that this story is told in hindsight, right? Laura's telling us this perspective, like the story from the perspective of her way later, like at 27, right?
I think so.
She's 19. Yeah, she's 19 when the story happens, and she's
Mhm.
20 when it's being written, and like when we the reader are getting to experience the story. She's 27. So a lot has happened. She's had a lot of time to reflect. She's had a lot of time to think about it. And to kind of like ruminate, right?
Mhm.
On a lot of these events. And she talks about like all of her governesses from after her mom died, right? Because she's like,
Madame
um,
Paragon and La Fontaine.
right, 'cause she's like, my mom dies. And then she's like, so my mom died, and then I had all these governesses, and because she said she had 4, right?
I don't
Yeah, there was
remember.
a 4th, Mademoiselle de la Fontaine, a lady you might call a finishing governess. The consequence was a babble at which strangers used to laugh, and which I shall make no attempt to reproduce this in this narrative.
My governess has had as much control as you might imagine they had over a rather spoiled girl whose father allowed her to have her own way in nearly everything. So I like that Laura very much like in just these 2 pages, she sets a very self-aware tone of what all was going on. Like that, I mean, that's literally just page 4 and 5 of Machado's edition of this. She sets a very self-aware depiction of what is going on. Like Laura is like, look, this is the story. This is what is going on. This is the, like, did I know at the time? No. Was it staring me in the face? Yeah, but you gotta kind of understand why, right? She's showing the reader so much, and like she's like begging the reader to be like, look.
Also, to clarify, Kaylee, it was just her father, Laura herself, Paradon, and Lafontaine. And the way that it is phrased is
No. I mean, like over the years. It was over the years.
No.
Oh, it was. There was a fourth.
At our
I
table.
I understand now. Okay.
That's why I was clarifying. I was like,
what?
My special interest would have flagged this. Let me just clarify.
I was like, wait, what? Okay, that makes sense now.
Fine. As you were saying?
That would make sense why I starred, and I wrote to the side, how do you interpret? Question mark.
Well, that's how you interpret. You're welcome.
Okay. I was like, what? Okay. And then I have Blood Mother died very early, leaving psychological gap needing to be filled, biological gap, producing like mother issues, like producing these needs to be filled, like question mark, right? Like, does it? Did it? Was it like, I mean, it very much seems like Laura is very self-aware of like, her mom wasn't there. Her mom like
left in absence.
Right. Like she sees these other people growing up. Like she sees all of these people. She knows what like she's getting the one side of things, but she's not getting, there's very much this absence of love. Like there's very much this absence of connection, because like the line, and I love it because I feel like a lot is said in the line, my governess had as much control as you might imagine they had over a rather spoiled girl whose father allowed her to have her own way in nearly everything. Like, people say what you want, but kids crave boundaries, right? Like kids crave discipline, and it's not punishment. It's just discipline. It's boundaries.
Stability?
It's like, it's stability. It's respect. It's they crave this, like, because if you're giving to show like a certain amount of reprimand, to show a certain amount of like, not disdain, but to show a certain amount of course correction, shows attention, right? Like it shows that you are aware, you are in tune with them, right? Like, and her dad is just catering, her dad is just giving, her dad is just like, whatever, like you get what you want. And you see it like Veruca Salt turns into a brat, right? Like she gets everything she wants. The dad doesn't know how to love her, right? Because she's not, like, her love language isn't being spoken to, right?
I really do appreciate that even though she titles herself as spoiled, she doesn't necessarily act as spoiled. I think she has more of a naive sense about the world at large and other people, in contrast to just being rotten like Veruca Salt.
Well, I think it's because she understands her station, she understands her position, but she also is aware of what she is without, right? And I think that comes with that. That's just something, and why it's important that she's telling the story from an older point of view, from 27, than from 8 years old, right? Like from 8 years ago. Because if she were to tell the story as like right after turning 19, it'd be like, I was in a whirlwind of love, and I was, where'd she go?
oh, they killed her, my lover, right? But to tell the story as
my brother.
right. To tell the story is like, I mean, think about like if you've ever, if any of us have been in a like relation or situationship where you were desperately in love with somebody and you were not, they were taking advantage of you, right? But you were giving them everything, because
Especially at
you
that
had nothing.
age.
Mm-hmm.
Everything at 19, like everything in the teen years is the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So like writing now that her frontal cortex or whatever
Has
is
developed.
fully formed.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like in hindsight, I was a brat,
Right. And I mean,
but I
I don't
also
know.
didn't have a mom.
Right. And I don't know how many of you guys are like over the age of like 24 or 25, but I feel like there's like a whole world of difference between like at any age of like being before 19 and then being after your late 20s. Like there is a grand world of difference. Even in like these years, there was like a grand, it was like being like, oh, you're like prime age to marry off, and that, oh, you're an old wretch of spinster crone. Like you are just like, you are a maid, you are a crone, like you
Right.
are worthy to birth, you are dead to us. Like that's, I mean, but that's what it is, right? Like that's how
Mhm.
that's how women are treated. And the fact that she recognizes this, right? Like she
Mhm.
spent time discovering who she is. She spent the time that she knows by the end of the story. Yes, truly at 19, my brain was like a chunk of what it needed to be. Yeah. And I
It's
love
the
that.
building blocks. It's, you're still there. That 19-year-old is still inside of you.
Right.
Mhm.
And it is being in your late 20s and reflecting on, if you're in your late 20s, reflect on how you were as an 8-year-old, reflect on how you were as a 19-year-old, and you're gonna think totally different of situations that you were in at that time, sort of thing. And so I think that that's why the writing of it, the way that it's written, is nice. Like, she's reflecting on these things that happened in her life.
Mhm. And I didn't even clock her at 27 when I originally read, because I finished this like early March. I'm like, oh, so I'm a year younger than Laura as she's recounting this tale. That would make sense why I struggled so much at the times that I tried to read this prior, because I guess on some level I just couldn't relate or connect or really grasp how she felt about the situations.
Yeah.
And it was just a little confusing to figure out whether it was like her at 19 experiencing this and this is how she felt at the time, or is like these retroactive feelings.
Right. And we also have to partially remember, this is also somebody else writing about somebody else as if they were like
No,
experiencing these things.
I refuse to believe it. All books are real. They exist. I was
Right.
literally just thinking about this, like a couple in a book that I read. I was like, yeah, they'll stay together for the rest of. No, they won't. The book is over. They don't exist.
I like how
Yeah.
Kaylee is basically making this sound like the last 5 years. So thanks.
I mean, hey, I didn't mean it quite like that, but it's fine. It's cool. It's okay. It's cool. But no, but I think that it's really important to acknowledge, especially with a text like this, because not only is this book, I think one of the biggest themes of this book is self-discovery.
Mm-hmm.
It's discovering who and what you are in a time when no one is around to tell you, right?
Yeah.
And then what happens when influence appears?
And I think it's really interesting that you're framing it the way that you are, because at this period of time, women were still kind of like infantilized and not really seen as fully fledged people. So I just think it's really interesting, that whole shebang. If I had more sleep, I would be able to like actually
That whole
formulate.
not having basic human rights shebang.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to be better about like pausing longer and like act like
No, I feel like what you said. I feel like we're in English class. Class is in session. I'm learning some things because this book, it's a classic, and it was kind of hard to read. Like, because I'm reading it in such a modern lens, and I read so many modern books. Whereas if you are used to reading classics, or have read more classics in the past, I feel like, you know, you kind of can approach it a different way. Whereas I'm just like, lesbian vampires. Yeah.
well
No. I mean,
well, and
yes
I think
and no.
I
Which
think
we'll
what really
get into
helped
later.
me was before I started this, I actually read the graphic novel because I was like, I don't know anything about this book except the fact that it's lesbian vampires and it's a classic. And Mackenzie loves this book. And not that I have to love this book, but like I have to have some pretty decent talking points back to Mackenzie about this book because this is a hyper interest of Mackenzie's, right? Like I was like, I have to at least be able to speak to it, right? Like, and like you, I tell everyone, I got an English degree. I got an English degree. I don't know how I bamboozled and bewitched people into getting an English degree because the classics for me, and this is why I'm like you, the classics for me are hard. They're very hard. I get very bogged down in the way they're written. I get very bogged down in turn of phrase. I get very bogged down in what do they mean? Like what did they say? What was that? Like it's very
I also think with classics too, the reason why it's nice when you have adaptations like a graphic novel or a movie, you can watch that first.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's why Little Women, both versions that I love, 1991 and the 2018 one, they'll help me read. I mean, I'm 14 chapters in for the past 2 years. But it helped me visualize everybody because I'm like, oh, that's Emma Watson. That's Winona Ryder. It's blended in my head.
It's fine.
Yeah.
We know.
It really helps.
Or it's Katharine Hepburn. Anybody seen that version?
It really helped me conceptualize though, because like for not having a frame of reference, and this is something that Kenzie and I had talked about too, was I feel like because of my like degree and my frame of reference, because we were talking about this with another book that I'm currently reading, my brain works backwards. Like my brain is trained to make the connections backwards. So I'm always like, okay, we have this piece in front of us. I'm reading this piece. What does this piece connect to? And so I'm constantly playing like synapses. And so having
you had the brain cell while I was reading. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, sorry. I'm so sorry. I usually don't.
No, but I mean, like it is, but also like retrospectively looking at it and thinking this was written so long ago. I don't even know, 1800s or something like that.
There we go.
What was it?
1871, I think.
Okay.
1871 to
Before
1872.
Dracula, which is definitely important. But
Ooh,
yeah, whenever I think about how long ago it was written, and but like again, classic.
I only know when it was
crazy
written because our mom was born 100 years after.
Well, that baby mama. I don't know why I said that. What is wrong with me? I fucking hate myself.
It's a weird Thursday. Let's just chalk it up to that.
I love it.
I mean, baby mama. Listen. I'm having a great time. There's no school tomorrow. So I was like, ooh, I know this is going to be a long one because of like how much there is to talk about. Because the fact that this was published that long ago, and it is I mean, you know, it's not crazy. Like I said, it's not explicitly queer. It's well, in some parts it felt that way, but like it's more of like, I don't know, because like Laura isn't like, hey, what's up? Like,
Well, and that's another thing too, because like, what is queer, right?
Mhm.
Like, what is queer? What is the definition of queer? What and that's the thing too, right? Like, is it, we're gonna get to that too, because that's some hot thoughts as well.
oh yeah, we can go ahead and go to the next slide.
I am trying to get this slide to display correctly, actually. So give me a minute, please, because every time I keep downloading it, it keeps downloading a different slide, and I'm like, I don't
Canva
know.
does that to me. It'll like shift stuff.
Yeah, it's
the
weird.
worst. Oh,
It's
okay, hold on.
weird.
While we're still on Mother Maiden and Crone, I found
Crone.
another tab that I had written about Mother, God, Creation, and Monster. On page 46, at the top, the first like full first full paragraph, it says, "We are in God's hands," said my gentle father. "Nothing can happen without his permission, and all will end well for those who love him. He is our faithful creator. He made us all and will take care of us." "Creator, nature," said the young lady. "And this disease that invades the country is natural. Nature. All things proceed from nature, don't they? All things in the heaven, in the earth, and under the earth act and live as nature ordains? I think so."
The 1871 version of if God's real, why are there dying kids in Africa?
Right. Well, and I kind of love it too, because this is in the oh my god, I had so many notes.
That was crazy.
Oh, I have a post-it that says, "Women can't be killers."
Whoa, yeah.
No. Oh god, which chapter? Oh my
Then
god.
again,
Okay.
that harkens back to like the constant infantilization and having, misconceptions of what women are capable of.
It is. And I realize what chapter this is now, because it's it's the top tab that I told you about, that I said I wrote, "This is literally the funniest thing I've ever read in my life," about men. It was like, yeah, that's the best description of a man I've ever read in my life.
You're
Ever.
welcome.
Sorry, man. If you're a man watching, I love you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But yes, sorry. It's when the self-proclaimed vampire hunter arrives, and he's like, he stops Laura and Carmilla, and he's like, "Lo,
Do you want a Batwing?
would you like this talisman? It's said to protect you from vampires. I hear they look exactly like what's standing in front of me. Ma'am, your teeth are pointy. Do you need a dentist? I can file that down for you." It's just like,
These are not the droids you're looking for.
The call is coming from inside the house. Get out.
straight up, I was like, if this was really written by a man.
I'm looking for a bald guy with long fingernails. Have you seen him?
Right?
Yeah, nope.
No
He
sweat.
That's the only thing that a vampire can look like.
He was like, he went that way.
And then he was like, "Oh, she seems offended."
Straight up, dude. I was like, excellent.
He's like, I'm trying to hit on you. Netflix and chill.
That's it.
All right, so I finally got the slide to cooperate. So am I good to move on to it?
Yes.
Okay. The implicit queerness of a literary classic. I do want to say, because you guys are going to take over and I am tired.
No, you're fine.
I really love just how ambiguous you can interpret this topic in relation to Laura and Carmilla, or Carmilla and what is the general's niece's name? Catherine, I think. I don't remember. I don't want to look it up. But like the closeness of women during this time period with each other, it worked in their favor to be as intimate with one another as they felt comfortable with, because men didn't really like do anything about it. They didn't think twice.
Oh,
They
just
didn't
two
even think
girls.
like that could be a possibility, really.
Yeah.
And I remember reading Dracula for the first time, and I'm like, are Lucy and Mina a thing? And then you see in Bram Stoker's Dracula them giggling and laughing over the Kama Sutra, and you just can't ever interpret their relationship any other way. And you're just kind of like weirdly pairing off the characters of Dracula into like polycules and stuff like that. I'm like, I feel like this could work. Just because of the societal like allowances for certain things, because they weren't as heavily scrutinized as they are now.
I'm doing a Google real quick before I open my mouth.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, I just, this was really my only question that I could really think of, because it was what stood out to me. It was what I knew about the book going into it. And definitely, like what you were saying, was that men aren't going to think they're fucking. They're going to think, oh, just those silly women talking about dishes and dresses and fabric. And so, like, in a way, it wasn't, but it is.
And I think it's also really interesting that men at this time period, if they did see two women together in that level of intimacy, they, a lot of the time, unless they were like in more artist type circles where that fluidity was accepted, they would be repulsed by it. It wouldn't even be considered something like a kink to them. And I have a lot of thoughts about it, and I think it's really funny that Claudia's like Lucy and her three suitors and Mina, because I'm like, yes, hi, I'm Lucy Westenra. These are my three boyfriends, and this is my wife, Mina. Like, that's all I can think about 100% of the time. Every time I watch Dracula or decide to queue it up on it's not Audible, but it's like the free Amazon reading thing that you can do for classics that they also have audio for.
Yeah.
I just can't remember what it's called.
Is it called Prime Reading?
I think it might be.
Like where you can, they have a lot of like Charles Dickens and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
But I know the Dracula one is really, really good. I highly recommend listening to Dracula from that and playing Animal Crossing for like 20 hours, because the audiobook is like 15. And I've listened to Dracula 3 times.
Well, and I think it's really important too that we not only like, I mean, Lucy and Carmilla aren't the only queer characters we meet. And I think that's really important for us to bring up too, because we also meet the general. And
I mean, Laura. We're saying Lucy.
Oh, I keep saying Lucy because you mentioned Dracula. I was doing so good. You don't understand. I have had to keep all of these L and C names straight in my head, and it's so hard.
It's fine. You're good.
Being Laura and Carmilla. I mean, they're not the only like queer people we meet, queer characters we meet in this book, because we also meet the general, right? And oh my God, my desktop changed to night mode and it freaked me out. I'm so sorry. That everything changed colors and I did not expect it to. Because we meet the general, and I thought it at first, I had to do a quick goggle because I was like, why is it weird? Why is it so, why did people get like, why was it so like closeted and secreted? And then I had to remember that, yeah, more like malarkey. Am I right?
Malarka.
Malarka. I was like, malarkey, my ass.
We're going to come back to that in a little bit.
So mad. I was like, I just want to be like, every time a thing pops up, I want to be like, and look. Like, la, la.
That.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. What was my thought? I got distracted by the bubble. Oh, brain.
You were talking about Laura and Carmilla and men.
Right. Oh, I had to do a quick goggle because I was like, weren't like fops and dandies around? And I was like, well, that's also more that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to think because I was like, that's the West. And then I was like, oh, this book was afraid of that culture and that culture's influence and what it would do. And I was like, oh, right. So if there's this general who had a lover in the war, yeah, I would want to keep that quiet too. Right. I had to do a quick goggle and some research real quick. Not bad. But then of course, like, I had to come back and realize what was going on. And I was like,
also, we should state that Kaylee and I, we had to, this was during our first reading sprint, I believe. We had to double check the introduction that Carmen Maria Machado did for this book to verify that that was not in the original text and that she took the liberty to interpret it that way for this particular narrative, because we were both really confused.
Which I like. I really like, actually, the liberty she took on it, because the argument that I'm going to make in a little bit, at first I was like, I don't know if I like this argument, but I like the extra layer it adds, to do it with or without, if you want to look at it. Either way, I think it's really great, because
I felt like it provided necessary context.
Yes, and as an openly bisexual like person, I as somebody who does not hide that fact about herself, this novel, I was hoping you guys would mention the intro. Yes. I mean, I think it's a very important. I mean, when you're reading it, I had a professor a long time ago who was like, do you skip the intros of books just so you feel like you're through the book faster? And I was like, yeah, I do. And he was like, stop doing that. You're an idiot. And I was like, he's like, there's actually a lot of useful information in there and we're not writing it for our own health. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Don't book shame me right now, professor. I have like 8 other classes. Stop being mean. And now that I don't have to read 7 other classes worth of stuff, now I read introductions and I'm like, wow, there's so much stuff in here. I wish I'd realized that this whole time. Like he told me.
Meanwhile, I was struggle busing my way through all the intros ever and never even thought about skipping them. I didn't know you could. I was like, this is the most boring, dry information until I got to like 19 and I was like, oh, this is actually really important for the context of all of this. Cool.
I thought you were talking about this.
Glad.
Not this.
Not this particular intro, because I read it at first and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then we got to like the last big chunk where we were like, oh,
that you're talking about the you are mine, like the obsession idyllic influences, like that part, not the other bit. If you tell me, oh wait, hold on,
girl, I'm too tired to follow you down rabbit holes.
I know.
Hold on. I'm trying to rabbit hole the other footnotes that add to the story were her just putting things in. like her made up backstories for the general. Let me tell you how upset I am right now, because I need him to be gay.
Oh, I need to get my hands on that edition.
Yeah, because I had to like we had like, I don't want to say 15 to 20 minutes trying to figure this out during the first reading sprint, and I found it on, and I'm sure it's mentioned.
Oh, because it's
logistics.
the other
The
K.
accompanying text includes footnotes of both a practical and illustrative nature.
Yeah.
And then we were like, oh, so we originally took that at face value when it's really...
No, you originally took it at face value. I was reading it like, yeah, these are whatever. I was like, whatever. But now I'm double mad, because what about the introduction? Like, how much of the introduction do I take
as serious?
I'm so...
But it's like it's a fiction, right? Like, it's a fictional thing, which is awesome.
It hurts.
I have 2 books with footnotes that I'm...
Hey, Jess, what book is that? Show it off.
We're gonna ban footnotes.
Yes!
Ooh!
Encyclopedia. I know this one has footnotes. I also have another one that has footnotes.
I'm gonna ban footnotes.
I was originally reading that physically last year before I got fired from the library, and I've had it requested on Libby for forever. And I think I still have the Libby book. I need to check.
I think you would like this book, Kinsey.
Babel.
I think you would like it. There's tons of footnotes, and I've been reading audio. This fucking book is so big.
That is an author that is vast and contains
y'all.
Whose car?
I expected that to be Kenzie, because Kenzie actually lives, like, her backyard is a highway.
It is.
Me too.
I hate
but
it.
it's my front yard, so.
Marsha Marin is an anagram of Carmen Maria. She told us she was messing with us, and I didn't realize.
She fucking did it.
Claudia's doing the most.
Claudia, get in here.
I know.
Send Claudia the link.
Claudia and Ashley have been so helpful this month. Thank you guys. Huge shout out, by the way.
For real. I didn't have an intro in my version, so I was just nodding my head like, wow.
All that went completely over my head. Yeah. We should have prefaced that better. I'm so sorry. But like, I have 2 versions of Carmilla. I have the version that I bought from, I think, Penguin Classics on my Kindle, and then I have this one, and so this is the one I'm primarily talking about, but also there were times where I'm like, did I miss something? And I kept referencing with the original text, and I was like, oh, this is a liberty taken by Carmen. Got it.
I'm so mad.
It's a beautiful book, though. I sobbed so much in the last parts of it.
It's okay, Vimroba. I was following along on my phone whenever, because I had to go to the bathroom sometimes, so I'll keep the live up on my phone, and so I can hear y'all even though it's delayed, so I kind of don't miss stuff. But it's okay. Mine is like that too, Vimroba. But the reason why I'm reading Babel is I want to cry, and I've heard that it makes you cry.
Stop making me read things that'll make me cry. I don't like crying.
Nah.
My tears burn my face. No. I start to melt. Okay.
Oh, we should have done a slide to connect this to the film. I did this scene in particular. I was like, it's giving Crimson Peak.
The illustrations in that
are gorgeous.
It comes with a free boob. If anybody wants to buy this copy, it comes with a free boob, everyone. Free boobs.
Yeah.
You get shown the Venus's tits in 8th grade and you never let it go.
Everyone, I am queer. I am a bisexual woman. If there are boobs, I'ma tell ya. I'm doing my part for my community. I'll let you know.
Speaking of queerness, can we move on from this one to a different slide?
Yeah, now that I'm wrong about the general, but it's fine. It's all fiction.
Carmen got you.
She
Closeness,
sure
consent,
did.
and the vampiric pull.
Ooh,
This
was
will
up
come
for
out
us.
much later, but I think about consent and vampires way too much. I really like the concept of how they have to ask in order to come into your home.
come into you.
And just like the sheer amount of like, if I am deliberate and I ask and they say yes, I am not in the wrong, even though that could also be, maliciously done to get a person's blood and your own personal sustenance and possibly kill them. But it's fine because they said yes.
So there is a movie that came out in 2023.
Mhm.
It's a foreign film. I mean, I don't know anything about it except for the title, but I feel like it fits here. It's
Mm.
called Humanist Vampire Seeking Consenting Suicidal Person.
Oh, love that.
You know what that sounds like? It sounds like
I love that.
the German cannibal who would put out ads in the paper for victims.
From the IT crowd. I mean, I know it was real and they spoofed it, but the
Uh-huh.
IT crowd spoofs the German cannibal so
Yes.
good.
Mhm. That's what it
Yes.
sounds like. I'm
Okay,
just like, hold on, is this not the same thing?
I think it's like a coming of age. I sent you I had been watching a lot of video essays about movies and stuff, and this one came across, and just that title, I'm like, add to watch list. I don't know where I could find it. I think it's like French or something, and I don't do dubs, so I'll probably never watch it. But that I sent you the vampire video, and then the School for Vampires. That was making me think of Carmilla, and
that was so cute.
it's the cutest thing. Fizzy, get Fizzy to watch it.
Oh,
Kinsey
she'll
was
love that.
Yeah, Kinsey
She's
was
like-
around Fizzy's age.
She'll eat
Girl.
that. She loves Vampirina and all that jazz.
Oh,
she'll eat
it's so cute. It's
She
so
will
cute.
love
You probably find it on YouTube.
Yeah, I can't wait to look that up for her.
Yeah, that movie,
yes.
Claudia. It's just that title is so perfect. Like if that was a book, I'd read it alone based on the title.
And I love that you brought that up in our group chat because I'm like, oh, Jess doesn't know. We are a Cubo household. We grew up with Tuttenstein and Growing Up Freaky and, Ruby Gloom.
Oh,
Ruby
yeah.
Gloom!
I'm like,
Yep.
yes, add it more to the list of creepy comfort cartoons that are perfect for the niece.
I was shocked when you said you hadn't seen it because I was like, oh, for sure Kinsey's seen this like obscure German vampire school. It's literally one of them is afraid of blood. And then there's one that's a pile of ashes with just eyes and a mouth.
I thought it was a rock. That's adorable. Oh my god. That's hysterical.
Y'all, if you go to the Discord and you
have to watch
Carmilla, yeah, I put it I put it in the Carmilla chat on Discord and I sent out the bat signal like, has anyone seen this? Because Carmilla unlocked it for me. I haven't thought about it in a while, but it is
a good core memory.
It's very cute. It's such a cute depiction. And like, normally your kids watch like Mickey Mouse and stuff, and some of that will stick with you. But between My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, and School of Vampires, those are the two that just I got into as an adult watching them. And I'm not a big cartoon person. So I like the storyline is so good.
In fairness, cartoons have gotten immensely better since we were children.
That's true.
I love it. But
I have to ask for clarification. What specifically means vampiric pull? Like the draw to them, or is it like hypnosis or something?
The power in which they have, like the power that they pull, like the power that the sway that they have over people, their sway,
like the charisma of them.
I mean, clearly in this text, right, there is no shortage of their influence that they are able to use, right? So like, and there's, and I think I said the vampiric pull because there's a lot of different ways they use it, right? There's the action with the smiley face makes me think of that. That's so cute. Dracula dead and loving it. Cute. That's so cute. Like the way that they use intimacy as a weapon, or the way that they the way that she will touch, like, because she'll just, towards the end, it said how she can touch like the wrist, or she like whatever touch she leaves, it leaves this like mark, right? There's a mark that is left, but it's obviously this influence, this kind of like, I'm asking you to do something, thanks, but it's more than just,
it lingers.
It lingers, and it depends on who she's doing it to, right? Because if she's doing it to just anybody, it's like, I can use force, or you can do it because I'm asking, right? Like, you could do it, or I'll make you. It's your choice, right? But if she's doing it with someone she's enamored with, like if she's using her gifts on someone she's enamored with, it's a completely different situation, because she doesn't want to scare off her meal. Right? And I'm sure there's a little bit more to that too, right? Like I this is something that made me start to think about, like, when we watched Crimson Peak, there was a little bit of this with Crimson Peak too. It was kind of like this, like, why would I show them that I could be this monster? If I show them that I'm this monster, I have a tendency to lose this relationship, right? Like, I have a tendency to lose this intimacy, this closeness that I too need. Because clearly it's more than just a meal. But there was also a line in the book, and I can't remember exactly where it was, and I don't think I highlighted it, which makes me mad. But there was a line about bloodlines and how Carmilla particularly, and that's why I didn't highlight it, because it's not necessarily illicit. It shows up, right? It's very clear that the special loved ones that Carmilla, I hate saying this, but that Carmilla leeches onto, right, come from particular bloodlines. Right? Which I also think is a very interesting I think it's very interesting to look at, if we look back at the implicit queerness of it all, right? Is that in her alive life, she was with men. Because the general's letter, we'll get there. But in the general's letter, another lifetime. This lifetime, what does she chase after? Who do we see her going after? What have we seen time and time and time and time and time again? She's picking off these young girls. She's picking off these women. She's picking off all of these different girls, right? She goes through the bloodline of Carmilla of Laura's line, right? She's like going through the mom. Like, she finds the painting from that's been in her family's like lineage for how long? Right?
Did Carmilla kill her mom?
Malarka.
I don't think so. I think
it's correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure. Sure, because it's,
and there was like a mention
implied.
of like,
it's
oh,
implied.
are you related to these people? And it's like, no, they all died out.
She's like, oh, couldn't Yeah. And then I think there's like a
We're
line
distantly related in my mother's line. Like,
right.
that's
And I
what I
was
remember.
there's so many times in this book I just have like starred, asterisk, underlined, angrily bold-faced. Laura's dad is an idiot. Like the dumbest man. So dumb. Like this man. But to get back to the slide that's on topic, I think it's really important because I saw this picture again and I was like, oh, right, topic. The way that Carmilla uses intimacy as a weapon, right? Like she knows how starved Laura, and that's the thing, right? Is hunger. Hunger, period. Laura is starved for attention. She's starved for compassion. She is starved for connection in so many different facets. In these deep, intimate settings, right? It's not just like a casual glance. It's not just like like, because you could get that from the maids. You could get that from her governesses. She could get that from anybody that's just like walking through the manor, right? The things that Carmilla is offering come at a cost. And Laura does not realize what the cost is. And she's seeing the cost going on around her, and she's not like, homegirl is not seeing it until it is almost at her doorstep.
Yeah.
Which I think is also really interesting, which is also why I was like, this is the dumbest man to ever dumb. How could he not realize? And as I'm having this conversation, I'm realizing how this man could never realize, because she told me on page 5. She told me on page 5 how her dad could never realize, because her dad is not paying attention to anything.
These people keep dying after this young lady showed up. But
her dad even her dad even let her mom die. And then I'm realizing, oh, because her mom was also a lesbian.
Or just
queer. at least queer. Like I don't
clearly think she tolerated that man enough to copulate and form
right.
Laura.
Like I don't think you're ever going to convince me anywhere in this book. I don't think you're ever going to convince me that anyone in this book is strictly one way or the other. I will tell you all day long. I think this is
like Hive and Hotel. There's only one straight character.
Yeah, I think this book is a very bisexually coded book, which I think I might get like a lot of hate for that. But I seeing everything that I'm reading, I think and to be fair, I think the only like truly like they probably are lesbian is Laura. Like Laura is probably like the near there. Like she's probably like, let's go sail that
Carmilla to me has always seemed like for what we've seen in media, like mainstream media, the iconic like bad bitch bisexual, the one that's going to wreck your life, take names, whatever, who is so heavily geared toward like, I don't want to say evilness, but definitely like there's something I should not touch here because it'll ruin my life.
Right. Like she's definitely painted as this villain. She's definitely painted as this like, you can't have it both ways. You're greedy. You're you want more than you can have. And you're going to get what you deserve.
I honestly really wanted them to like both be vampires and live out their days and have like a weird queer coven of vampires. I wanted that to happen. Make it a Lost Boys scenario, if you will. I don't really care. I just wanted them to be happy at the end, but clearly
me thinking of a list of all of the modern day books that I'm like, you should read these. Like
curate it. I remember
have other things I gotta read right now.
What?
I have so many other things I gotta read right now, Kaylee.
I know.
I remember there was something I was watching that was vampire adjacent, and it kind of like talked about how like being a vampire, why would you be straight and be a vampire?
For
Because
real.
you're living forever. Like you're not
Yes.
dying. And it's I can't remember it. I think it was some sort of show where it's like, why would I do that? But so many times growing up, especially the media
What We Do in the Shadows, I feel it was probably around What We Do in the Shadows, I feel like is
definitely it's gotta be.
And I think that perfectly
I see that argument a lot
encapsulates like
with
the
that.
queerness of vampires in general. It's like, I think at some level we have an understanding that they hunger for just people in general, but I don't think we really understand how differently that can manifest into sexuality, into basically not seeing sexuality or genders or whatever, just seeing their next meal, and they kind of have like a pansexual phenomenon going on. As you're not boring as mud, sure,
Yeah,
I'll play with my
and
food.
I think that really plays a really important part on consent too, right?
Mhm.
Like, where is the line from desperation to consent? And like where when you don't know what you don't know, right?
Mhm.
Like, how can you consent to something you have no idea about? How is Laura able to welcome these things that she has absolutely no idea about? And let's be
Mhm.
honest, Carmilla is absolutely not forthcoming about anything
Nope.
at all.
Mhm.
And she, like, the girl speaks in riddles, but she absolutely avoids anything.
Yep.
Right?
And
Like, she's like,
my favorite thing though is like Carmilla would be like, I'm always gonna lock my door. Always. No consent for you to come into my room. And
yeah,
then
she's like,
and
I'll
then
give
Laura's
you
just like, I'm gonna leave my door constantly unlocked. I'm in danger.
I'm in danger. Millhouse or no,
And then
Ralph.
Carmilla is just being this amorphous blob. Could be a cat, could be an owl, could be a crone, could be some spooky thing in the dark. Preying on Laura because she doesn't lock her door. Lock your doors.
What is it? What was it in the last book? What were they called? They were called what was it in Vampires of El Norte? What were they called? My brain's like El Chupacabras, but I'm like, that's not it at all. Those are that's not them.
Los
They were called something
Cucos?
else. What?
Los Cucos?
Yeah, could be Los Cucos. Who knows?
El
Who
Cuco,
knows?
El Cucos. There we go.
the boogeyman in
could be
a lot of Hispanic culture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Comes for the children.
That's why when I started reading this and I had a random cat on my patio, I was like, oh, this is funny in context, but I can't share this yet.
Nah.
I was like, figures the day I pick up Carmilla to actually take it seriously, a cat is here. I don't know what happened to that cat. I hope he's living his best life somewhere.
A cruel
I'm
love,
gonna-
a strange love that would have taken my life.
I'm gonna go to Kaylee's favorite slide, apparently.
Go to the general, save some time.
Is that a reference that people get? Is this a thing? Oh, that's right.
It's an ad.
Yeah.
It's been around longer than we've probably been alive.
I thought it was a local commercial growing up.
No.
I thought it was too, and so I was a little afraid to do this, but then I was like, I really hope this lands. And then I'm mad at myself because I can't remember the first half of the commercial. I'm like, if something rates online, go to the general, save some time. And I can't yeah, the shack is it. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That is
I heard the
crazy.
song. I do for you.
Yeah.
I do. I get the no
I do for a great low rate. You can get online.
Go to the general, save some time. There we go.
No,
this is what
fucking-
happens when I have no sleep and we all just seem kind of like
Ashley.
vaguely very dumb.
I love it. I have vast knowledge of commercial jingles.
Oh, don't get us started. Don't get us started. Kaylee and I can quote nearly all the freecreditreport.com commercials to you right now, right here.
Yeah, that was a good one. Oh,
Sponsor us. You hear us? Freecreditreport.com.
bro.
Sponsor us.
Anyway, please regale us with your general knowledge of the general.
Your
So,
general knowledge.
My general knowledge reporting for duty. So
we're gonna make t-shirts.
That was like, I love that because that was like 3 jokes back to back for anybody. Oh God,
You're welcome.
Oh, so good. I love being here. Thanks, guys. We'll be here all month. Okay. So did anybody get Great Gatsby by the last like 3 chapters? Because I sure did. Let me tell you, if you thought this book was like, I don't know if this book is worth my time. Here's the deal. Let me tell you, you don't know. You're like, I don't know if I could do this book. I don't know if this book is worth it for me. Here, let me tell you, you go to the general, save some time. You want to figure out what this book is about? Here, all you need to do is go to the general's chapters. When he shows up and you're like, man, is this party getting started? All you gotta do,
which I believe is like chapter 13 search.
I think it. I know. I'm like, is it
when he shows up?
Yeah, I think it's search. I think it might be before that.
Or is it chapter 10 bereaved? I read 8 is 13. I am so tired.
After the doctor. After the doctor. Bereaved. Legasp. I literally wrote Legasp.
It was about 10 months since we last saw him, but that time had sufficed to make an alteration of years in his appearance. He had grown thinner, gloomy, and anxiety had taken the place of the cordial serenity that used to characterize his features. Don't read when you're really tired, folks.
Yeah, literally. If you just want to figure out, if you're like, I don't know what this book. Recap of the book. Chapters. Let me tell you, yes, I loved his chapters. He came to show Laura's dad how stupid he was. Yes, he did. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, okay. The general rolls up, and at first I was like, first of all, did anybody else get the idea or like the thought that like maybe the whole reason that like the only reason why Laura's dad was like, yeah, I guess you can hang out with like the general's like ward is because Laura's dad was thinking about marrying her off to the general? Because I sure did, until I saw that phony ass fake footnote that I know is fake now, but cool.
And then I had to tell you, like, he's basically old enough to be friends with her father, so they're probably similar in age.
Yeah,
and
but then
Catherine was old enough to be the general's daughter, but wasn't the general's daughter.
Right, but like, let's think about that though.
Which is uber creepy.
Mattered. They're men. It wouldn't have mattered, and I'm going to explain to you why.
I know, but I'm still grossed out by it.
Yeah, same. Same, but what women autonomy? None. We don't matter. We're just commodities. We're just commodities and dowries. That's all we are. But anyways, so not anymore. I'll fight for it. But yeah, so you read the general's chapters and you're like, oh, I'm caught up. Cool. You don't know what's going on in the book? Not sure what's going on? You're not in it for the subtext? You're like, yeah, it's a little gay. You just go. You just skip. And you're still going to get the gay. Ew, I never thought of him marrying off to the general. Yeah.
Neither did I, Claudia.
Yeah, there were a few lines.
Just being creepy online.
There were a few lines that the dad was like, also kind of like the weird things going on at the manor. Like, I don't know about you, but it definitely seems like all of a sudden, like we're, other than just like Carmilla's getting lunch, right? Like Carmilla's eating, right? Other than
Camilla,
like,
dear, have you
dying.
sleepwalked as a child, and that's what you were probably doing when we couldn't find you? You were sleepwalking, right?
Like, if you look, it definitely seems like there's some kind of socioeconomic thing going on. Like, it definitely seems like maybe the manor is struggling a little bit because, like, the paintings are coming out, right? These paintings that have been gone forever. There's now like an appraiser out looking at the paintings.
I think it was Restorator, but okay.
Ooh.
Oh.
Whenever there was a part where she wasn't feeling good and he was like, oh man, my friend was coming over. And I was immediately like, oh, because he's trying to marry her off.
Right. That's that. I thought that was the general. Yeah, I thought that was supposed to be the general.
Yeah.
Sorry, my Baja Blast just like blast.
I was watching some movie where it was like old timey and it was like, I think it's the girl from The Last of Us, Catherine.
Oh, love her,
No.
Bella Ramsey.
Bella Ramsey. And there was a movie. Yes. Okay, I wasn't sure. But they were in a movie, and I think that's the one where the dad is trying to marry them off, and
yes.
It's a restorator. It was a picture cleaner.
Call me Birdie.
Yes.
Call me Birdie. The dad is played by Andrew.
Oh,
what's his name?
Hot Priest. Hot Priest.
Yes, the hot priest from Fleabag.
Fleabag.
Andrew Scott? Is that his name? Moriarty?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That was a good. It was a good time.
Yeah.
Because Bella looks so young, so it's like so jarring to see it be like, and here's your husband, and it's like old man.
Yeah, they don't care. They don't care.
They were cleaning the portraits. It was a picture cleaner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sell? I mean, if everybody's dying, who's running the manor? Who's able to make money? Like, I could be just really reading into things, but like, I definitely felt like as the story was going on, I was like, is there more going on that I thought happened in here? Like,
also, can we appreciate that the general showing up and recounting his story to Laura's dad, and Laura's dad very slowly going, "Is this story about us?"
Yes,
is this a fucking play about us?
Right?
Meanwhile,
every time I love it when characters do that so much. I'm like, you dumb bitch. Yes.
And I just love that the general's telling it too in like true dramatic, like almost Phantom of the Opera style. He's like fully reenacting it. He's like, no, yes, no. Where were you? I don't know. Yes, come here. No, I must fetch my leave and take
surely
my car.
I do know this woman. Do I?
I don't know her at all. But did I? Maybe at a time. But she recounted if we only knew our seasons. Huh? Who is she? May I guess? I don't know. Ah, alas, the Karnsteins. Like, I decided
that you were going to do a one-woman show for us, Carmilla.
Yeah, I don't remember that part of the book, but I believe you.
The general, I decided, is actually Nick Miller.
Okay, here we go.
I decided the general would be Nick Miller.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I can see it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What's the rest of your fan cast? Come on.
Actually, no, that. Oh.
You can't just give us
I
one.
can see Schmidt too, with the dramatics.
Schmidt is the dad.
Oh.
Schmidt is her dad. I decided Schmidt was her dad.
Yeah, that does that actually. Yeah.
And this is why I keep changing Nick around. Because for a while I was
so
like,
versatile.
Is Nick gonna be the general? But it's Nick as Nicholas Pepperwood. It's Nick as Julius Pepperwood. He's playing Julius Pepperwood. So that's important to know. That's who the general is.
Jake Johnson playing Nick Miller, playing Julius Pepperwood, playing the general.
Yes.
That's the sequel.
Which is very important to know.
Russian nesting doll.
Because so Cece is Carmilla. Yes, this is important because who Carmilla's charges, who her mother is Winston. But it's Winston as his many personas. It's Winston as his many personas. Because it's him it's like Winston being Winston, doing all the things that Winston's good at, right?
The
But
most
it's
dramatic
also-
person. I can wholly believe him. He's the mother at the ball saying, "You know
Right.
me, but you
Right.
don't remember you know me."
A Winston
Yes,
CC
I'm
mess
so
around.
Yeah,
afraid
because
that you're going
he's
to
Winnie the
remember
Bish.
me.
He's gonna be Winnie the Bish. He's gonna be like all of his many personas, right? But then at the end of the day, every time they pull the wool over somebody's eyes, you know what it is. It's a classic Winston CC mess around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which means Laura is Jess.
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Laura is Jess. I kind of decided that oh my god, what's his name? Oh my god, I forgot his name.
Coach.
Coach, thank you. Like I remembered his real name, but I forgot his character name. Coach would be the vampire hunter, not vampire hunter.
He would. He would.
Yeah. And then yeah, yep.
If you like New Girl, you should watch Happy Endings to see why
Coach had
left the show, because I highly recommend Happy Endings. And then it ended 3 seasons later, so he got to come back.
Yeah.
It all worked out.
Yeah, so that's my fan
No,
casting.
that's
Oh, and then
perfect.
Nadia is just all of the
Girls that get preyed on.
it's just Nadia getting like killed over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Because I feel like she would be really funny at it. And then she'd get tired, like she'd just be like annoyed.
She like her character. So I'm visualizing all of these people in a movie together in the Carmilla remake. So I get it. And she would be like, you know, in Willy Wonka, the Johnny Depp version, they just took that same actor and replicated. That would be Nadia.
Yes.
It would just be a bunch of Nadias.
Absolutely.
Just different outfits, same sourpuss face when she's like, I'm so over it. I'm so done. When do I get to see Mick Mouse?
Yeah, she'd be like, Mick Mouse now? Mick Mouse?
No, yeah, that's a perfect casting.
Yeah, she would be all the dead girls, which I think would be even funnier when it's the general's daughter. I think it would be hysterical. And then the Baron would probably just have to be like Jess's fancy man.
Right.
Yeah.
For a great fan cast you can get online, go to the crypt and save some time.
Okay. But you know who would be Dr. Hecilius?
Oh, that's right, the doctor!
Ferguson. The cat. It would just be Ferguson.
It would just be Ferguson.
He shows up with a little doctor bag and like a monocle.
Yep. And of course,
the head thing that doctors used to wear.
Oh my god, no. It's
him in a teeny tiny plague costume.
No. It's oh my god, it's Jess's doctor boyfriend carrying Ferguson. Who is the doctor?
No.
He's so hot. No, it's Dermot Mulroney, her rich boyfriend.
He's the Baron. He's who I said was the Baron with the big hands.
The fancy man.
I said he was the Baron.
Oh, fancy man.
Yeah, that's Jess's fancy man.
Nick was a little attracted to in a weird way.
I mean,
really he was attracted to his stuff.
Originally, I was gonna say that
it worked.
I was gonna say that oh my god, who was the one that dated Cece?
Which time?
That
Robbie?
Robbie. I was gonna say Robbie was probably
Robbie.
gonna be the general if I wasn't gonna cast the general as Julius Pepperwood. If we were going to go with real characters, it would have to be Julius Pepperwood. And then I would make the doctor probably Nick Miller, or I'd have to flip them. But yeah, no, I think my casting is, I'm solid on this.
Can we get back to the actual slide?
Oh yeah, back to the slides.
Do you need more time for
No.
save some time?
We're almost done. What happened to
Yeah.
Carmilla's mother, and did she actually abandon her? Oh, so I forgot this slide was in here, but I already touched on this. Yeah, Carmilla killed her.
She killed her mother?
No, I'm
Oh,
I'm talking
Carmilla's
about
mother.
her
Carmilla's mother. I
mother.
read Laura's mother in my
Yeah,
head.
because she drops her off in the beginning, right? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
take care of my baby. She's so
And
shit.
then we never heard from her again, except in like the general's weird story. Like, what actually happened to her? This is a plot hole. Well, like, did I miss something?
I think that was just someone that she was like, hey, I'll give you some money to drop me off at this house. Like, because vampires are going to like use people at their will. Yeah. And
that
so
whole
it's
thing
like,
with-
hey, if you drop me off and say you're my mom and like beg them to take care of me,
Yeah,
then
it's
I get the end.
It's giving, hey man, I'll give you $20 if you go inside of that gas station and buy me booze.
Yeah. She hey mistered him and the rest was history. Or she hey mistered a mom.
Hey, Mister. Carmilla's mom did that to the general too. Yeah. Yeah.
Could have been
Which
a
is why I
completely
think-
different person too, because so much time has passed. So she's probably just like finds any like 35-year-old person out on the street and is like, take me to this place.
Which is why I think it's super interesting too, because is it Carmilla who has the private conversations with the men, or is it the mother that is so
Mom.
convincing?
It's the mom.
Which makes me wonder, right? Like,
It's not a you have never seen both of these ladies at the same time in the same place. It's not one of those.
No.
It's-
Right.
Yes.
Right. I'm not saying it's that. I'm wondering how strong is Carmilla's effects?
Yeah. Because she could just hypnotize them to say, you're going to go to this house. You're going to say this thing. Like, she didn't even have to give them money or hey, mister them. She just hypnotizes them.
Right. I mean, and clearly it's not that. I mean, obviously it was harder for the general. Like, we saw that she had to work much harder at convincing the general than she did Laura's father. Laura's father was like, oh my God, a woman? The horse was afraid of a cross and it turned? Never. Not on my path. Stop. Do you need help? Clearly. Get in the car. No questions? None. My daughter's lonely. She'll be happy. Like, what?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. My daughter saw and drove by a huge crucifix, and now she is sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Logic. So logical.
Weird.
Master of logic.
I think about that a little too much. I'm like, did you really feign ill, or did you see a crucifix and were like, Holy Land?
Oh, Jesus. Oh, on God, help.
She improved her technique in between. For real. But like, I created the slide because I was like, do you guys have any like fun theories on, if she ever came back for Carmilla's corpse, or like tried to like see what was going on, or just came back to pick up her daughter? And
She was probably Carmilla's next meal.
I don't. I think this might have been where the when you kill a vampire, when you kill the original vampire, it severs the line. Thought maybe like it severs the those who have been turned kind of idea. This could have been it. Like, oh, you're no longer indebted to me, or it could be the original thought of the oh my God, what are they called? Not familiars, but the lackeys. The
sired.
Not sired. The Guillermos. The not Igors. The
Renfields.
Renfields. which is
Is
the
that what
word
they're
I
called?
can't. There's an actual word that I can't think of.
Yeah. Servant.
Yeah, but it's got a particular word, and I don't know what it is. I don't remember what they're called, but yeah, they're like, yeah. Oh, it is
Familiar
familiar.
is the right word.
Oh, look at that. That's the word.
Because
yeah,
I always interpret it as the mom, Carmilla's mom, being part of like this gaggle of vampires, and not Carmilla turning an older woman to be her mother. I don't know. My brain has just always been like that, especially with Carmilla being turned by a man. It could have been like that mother is like in love with the man who sired Carmilla, essentially, and like that kind of scenario.
I
But
mean, there's
that's just
definitely that idea.
like how I interpret it. I'm like, did she know that Carmilla died? Did she feel it somehow? Did she come back for her? I would have liked a little closure on that.
I mean, I think I like having the open-endedness of it because, at least according to what we do in the shadows, yes. I think I like the openness interpretation of it because the general makes a very good point, especially talking about cult recruiting, right?
Mhm.
Of what happened to the Karnstein land, right? Like
Mhm.
essentially, they had turned it all into vampires, and somebody
Mhm.
had to kill them all. And there was a vampire hunter who had turned them all into, they had killed them all, right?
Mhm.
All apparently except for one, which got away.
Mhm.
So I think it's an interesting thought of to leave it open to interpretation of did they get away,
Mhm.
or like for more to like clearly there will be more vampires, right? Or
Mhm.
was this person truly a vampire or were they not? Were they working as a team? Were they not working as a team? Was it somebody that Carmilla had sired
Mhm.
and had let go? Was it somebody older than Carmilla who had just known? Was it somebody from her town? Was it somebody
Mhm.
she had picked up along the way? I think is an interesting thought, right?
I also think like if it was like a team scenario, how many people are in this team scenario that are acting in the roles of like Carmilla? Just like, is the mother basically teaching these younger vampires and setting them up in areas where they can go feed, kind of like how baby animals are taught by their mothers to hunt? Like, is it kind of like a scenario like that? Because they're
Well,
still compared to animals more than
and
humans that
it's
they once were.
I also think it's important to be like younger vampires, right? Because who's to say who's younger in this situation, right?
Mhm.
Just because one looks younger doesn't mean that they are younger. The mother could have been younger, just
Yes.
turned later, right?
Yes, but like I'm tired. I'm putting this the best way I can.
No, so your theory is like this is the sire that Carmilla was made by this person, and
Potentially.
she's sending, so there's probably other Carmillas,
Hmm.
maybe for
Ah,
other rich families, even like
Yes.
let's go prey on these people, and I'm gonna go and beg
Yes.
them, and then I got to go help your brother Robbie get in over at Saltburn or whatever.
Yes.
yes. Well,
Yes.
and I so um I think my thoughts changed a bit
Mhm.
upon reading the graphic novel on this
Mhm.
Ooh.
because
Is that the next slide?
No.
I was
Oh.
that's why I had my phone because I was trying to figure out what the next slide was and I couldn't figure out where it was in my folders. I was like, I give up. When you
Continue
asked, I was like,
talking.
cool, I don't have to look anymore. Because I couldn't remember which one it was.
Continue
And,
talking.
well, it was in my phone. What is the next slide? I don't remember. Because
Oh yeah, this is something you're really passionate about. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay.
So I'm going to take over here for a second. Okay.
Yes. 'Cause I'm gonna touch
Vampires.
back on the other one in a second.
Okay, but yeah, because before, real quick, Ashley commented, I think we need the general to tell us what happened with the mother, and I think we need the general's version of the novel. Like, wouldn't that be cool if it was like came out, like someone rewrote it or something from the general's perspective?
Yeah. I kind of want it, but from like the perspective of the general reading the letters that he found. So yeah, a prequel. Yeah, like I want the general reading what he found from like the yesteryears. Like, right? Like
That would be a good one.
what was the dynasty? What did you find? Why did you kill yourself? Why did you feel like you needed to what happened? But then again, like, why did we feel the need to do that? And then also I think it's pretty interesting. I still think it's pretty interesting that this book was written by a man. I think that's something we haven't even scratched on, but I think that's for this, but that's something we're gonna. I feel like once Kenzie starts talking about this part, we're gonna talk about.
Let's touch on the blood because I want to know more about this.
Okay, so I have a lot of thoughts. We're gonna
go from this is gonna get really kind of like proto-feministy, and I'm really excited about it.
Please shut up. I'm tired. Let me say my half-brain schemes in peace before I get more tired. I'm normally not this tired. I apologize. I'm so sorry. I don't know how much sleep I've gotten. I'm going to be honest. I've been dealing with a lot of stress. Anyway, the use of blood in Carmilla's coffin and its ability to anchor her in time. So, as I mentioned, I have read this version and I listened to the Audible version with David Tennant. So if something seems a little misplaced, it's from one of them, and I will not clarify because I do not have the mental capacity. So I'm so sorry if this is confusing. The blood in her coffin, it is 7 inches thick. And I'm like, is it her original blood? Is it the blood of her victims? Like, vampires get so stuck in time. We see many, many stories and media where they're like, yeah, a vampire wearing the same old clothes that they were buried in and turned in. And, like Lestat exists. Okay. And it's very stuck in that mentality of being stuck in time and anchored so. And that's why I think it's really funny when Ashley was like, will it be called Mircalla or Millarca? And I'm like, but you see, that in itself is also an anchor. And we also have to think about binds for vampires as well, because we have already talked about consent. They can't enter homes without deliberately asking and getting the consent beforehand. And we don't always get to talk about what binds vampires and keeps them from running amok. I feel like there should be more discussion on, things like graveyard soil from where they were turned and buried and transporting it around with them so that they can go from continent to continent. But in Carmilla, it's very blood-based, and I think that's really interesting. And with her name, just giving out different pseudonyms of it, because it's all the same letters in different formats. It's never one more or one less. It's a bind. It's a bind, like when you know the name of a thing in like spooky nonsense, and you're like, once you know the name has power, and I will use this name to confine you. And I feel like the blood that's also in Carmilla's coffin, as the more victims she accumulates, and she adds it to probably what's already pre-existing as her own blood, and she's adding to it, it allows her the ability to adapt and relate to those people, because blood, in my opinion and interpretation of this story, has memory, kind of like honey.
I am convinced this is the text that NASA read to send women's into space with 100 tampons.
Not like that was Sally Ride in the 80s or anything.
This is why they sent us with 100 tampons, because clearly Carmilla was just bleeding into the coffin.
She's not really a vampire.
She's just bleeding. Just
It's
100
just a regular
tampons.
period.
100
Also, I like
tampons.
now. Okay, so Malarca, Mercala, Carmilla, Carmen Marie Machado. What she did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
She embodied Carmilla. And
I also
did
want to
the
point
same
out
thing.
the name that she's changing, if we're going to talk about binds, because this is going to play into my thing. And I love that you talked about this, because I wasn't sure where you were going to take it. And I was like, ah ha ha, but you also see, if we're going into a proto-feminist lens.
Vampires are honeycombs?
No, let's talk about this. So, I'm so excited about this. The name in which Carmilla changes is not her last name.
Nope.
She does not go under a disguise. She shows how finished she is with men. She preys on women. She changes her first name, and she does not change the name itself. She just changes, like,
The orientation.
Count Olaf stands Carmilla's anagrams too. Yeah, yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. She just changes. Yeah, she just anagrams it, right? Because it's her power, right? Her power.
It's what she owns.
It's her autonomy. What she's changing is her autonomy, which is the entirety of the book, is Carmilla's autonomy, right? Like, if Laura's battle, right? Laura's entire battle is loneliness. Carmilla's entire battle is autonomy. Her original story was rooted against a man.
Mm-hmm.
Now she has the power to do the things. And now she's fighting against the autonomy and what to do with it. Which would play into the ideas of Western civilization and, oh my God, if we let women be lesbians, what will they do? Right? Which brings back men.
Mm-hmm.
Because what do they do to her? Because it doesn't just stop at the, like, she's not just sleeping in the coffin of blood, right? Like, I mean, she's going to, like, come through the soil and she's going to be like, wake up, right? But then what do they do to her? They chop off her head, right? And then they phallically impale her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna use the word. They penetrate her to kill
Not a
her
good enough
again.
reason to use the word penetrate.
Actually, it is, because
I'm
they
just quoting
penetrate
Pitch
her.
Perfect. Stop it.
I know. That's why I was like, I'm gonna use the word, because I always say it when that word is brought up. But they penetrate her to kill her for a second time.
Mm-hmm.
So they cut off her maiden head, not once but twice. Like, not once but twice. And, like, she is lain by a man twice.
Mm-hmm.
Once in life and in death.
It also could be seen as taking someone's purity.
That's 100. That's
unholy beings.
100%. That's why they cut off her head, Tens. That's why they cut off. That's why it's her maiden head. It's the whole, like, allegory. That's why they have to cut off her head. It's her maiden head.
I'm very extremely tired.
I know. I'm just, like, explaining
Have
it.
grace with me. I am on the same level as you are for whatever reason because of how tired I am. Like, I
take offense to that.
Don't take offense to that. Normally my brain is, like, firing much faster than it is what I'm saying. I'm not saying you're slow. I'm not. I'm just not fully thinking. is
I'm
what
gonna
I'm
need you to
saying.
do a favor. I'm gonna need you to go to your drawers and grab a sock for that foot that you be putting
No.
in your mouth.
I'm just
I
not fully
know.
thinking, which is making it a perfect illustration in itself of where my mental state is. But like also the 7 inches of blood, Elizabeth Bathory, the Bloody Mary of it all. Because she would put blood on her face to stay youthful. And she doesn't look like she's aged a day since she was turned.
Dates.
Elizabeth Bathory was 1560 to
Okay.
1614. So that was
Okay.
deliberate.
Okay. I was like, it doesn't matter saying the iconic figures if we don't have the dates to go with the
And
iconic
she was
figures.
Hungarian. She was Hungarian. This
That
takes
would
place in
absolutely
Syria.
check. That would
Like
absolutely make sense. That would absolutely check. Yeah. Absolutely would.
Elizabeth
Absolutely would.
Bathory. And I'm just like, this is the part of Carmilla that has me in an absolute chokehold.
Yeah. And Carmilla was bathing in virgin blood too. Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And giving an
like
orgasmic
petting.
time to Laura while feeding on her.
Petting the bubble. If it was the blood of her victims. Yeah. Yeah. But I think it's interesting too to be like, yeah, if it was the blood of her victims, I think is cool because like that would be eating her. But then it's also like, what if it was the blood drained of her? Her first.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if she has to go back to her original blood from the first time she was killed?
Would it be that much though? 7 inches?
Yes, 7 inches of blood.
I mean, somebody do a quick goggle. How much blood do we have in our bodies? And then somebody do math and figure out.
I don't think it
gallons
could fill a coffin. That's why I think it might be the victims. Maybe even her blood from.
I feel like it's mixed in because it's about possession and consuming. So I don't think it's one singularity of blood.
Maybe it was a budget coffin.
I feel like it's supposed to be a mixture so that it becomes like a hive mind situation in a way.
Like she takes on all of her victims, like they're with her she has to sleep in their blood.
Yeah, their memories,
like something she
feelings.
cannot forget about. She can never forget all of the lives that she's taken.
Exactly.
Which would explain why at the end when she's like, why Laura's like at the end, I feel like she's still with me. Essentially.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
I'm telling you guys, I have like been obsessed with this, and that's why I'm like, hey, has anyone finished it yet? Seriously, has anyone finished it yet? I'm going crazy. We need to talk about it.
I know. I finished it at like 5 o'clock today and was like, I did it.
I think that you're the ending that you had, I feel like was Carmilla's ending, but it wasn't what happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I feel like she was willing to consider turning her and wanted to do that. Because I feel like back to the themes of isolation and loneliness, I think Carmilla wanted a little bit more and realized that there was something a little bit different about Laura specifically in comparison to Catherine. That seems like a much quicker kill than what was going on with Laura. It felt more dragged out. But I also feel like the story that Carmilla commits to and says every time is kind of similar to how like fortune tellers will look at you, quickly analyze you, and then pay more attention to what the information that you're talking about is in order to give you a fortune that's going to work in your favor, or caution you.
I agree with Claudia. I think Carmilla was gonna turn her. Yeah, I do. I think she was obsessed enough that she couldn't let her go.
I mean, when you are kissing and saying mine, mine, you are
Well,
mine. And be
I
very, very gay.
I think there was more. I think there was more to it than that. I think there was more to it than that, though,
It
because I
just
think at
like the
first,
intensity of the that particular moment though had me convinced that like, oh no, Laura's different. She wants Laura. She wants to keep Laura. She doesn't just want to consume Laura.
I think it was the ultimate untouched purity of Laura. I mean, if we're going to
Mhm.
be honest, I think it was the ultimate. She is truly isolated in so many forms, because if we look at all the other girls, they were in town. They were not, I mean, they were not, for lack of a better term, they were not noble. They were not like of prestige. They were
Mhm.
not of the same world Carmilla was.
Mhm.
And if we're gonna be honest, who else is going to understand the same kind of loneliness that Carmilla has had to go through? There's a point where Carmilla says that soon Laura will know everything and she must come with her, hating her through death and after. Yep. The other girls were dead in a much shorter time. Yep.
Yep.
There it is. That's it.
There
That's
is.
it. And then is the next slide about the graphic novel, because I want to go back to the mother.
Nope,
I want to go back to
can
her.
be.
What's the next slide? Because
I can hardly read it. I'm just going to click it. As Carmilla is the blueprint for vampire novels, how similar are other classic works to it?
I feel like we did touch on this. I feel like we touched on this a lot in the beginning, because we talked we talked about that without actually talking about that slide, because we were like, it's a vampire renaissance.
Is there anything else we want to add to this before we move on to the graphic novel, though?
I feel like we've talked about it a
No,
lot.
yeah, because we covered like Lucy and Mina and stuff, because like
Mhm.
Dracula is the most, associated with, would be associated with this.
Because I think the only thing that I wanted to put forth here is Dr. Hecilius basically being the blueprint for Van Helsing, and that I prefer Van Helsing's methodology and logic over Dr. Hecilius. Because it felt, I don't want to say Dr. Hecilius felt like an afterthought, but I felt like he wasn't fleshed out enough for me to believe.
Hold on. You think that he is the footprint for Van Helsing?
The blueprint for Van Helsing.
Not the guy in the woods who shows up that they cross paths with, who's like,
Do you
here's
know
a trinket.
who Van Helsing is, Kaylee Ann?
Yeah, he's the vampire hunter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's not that crazy, Kaylee.
I feel like it's a combination of the two, though. I feel like somebody was like, we gotta now kiss. Like, I feel like somebody was like Mike Tysoning them and was like, and now have a baby. That makes sense.
But
that wouldn't fuck this up.
The reason why I'm like Dr. Hecilius specifically is because Van Helsing was an esteemed person who, most eccentrics fell into disrepute based on their theologies and like going, hey, that's a bad idea. Maybe some garlic for your room to ward off vampires would be what you need to do. And everyone's like looking at him like he's batshit. Like, no, just go. They're pretty. They're fragrant. They'll keep you from vampire possession.
They flower. People don't know that, but they flower.
They flower. Like, if you don't want to get bitten and have some like really gross hickeys and then consort yourself to being in a polyamorous relationship with Dracula for all time, garlic.
May I offer you a bulb of garlic in this trying time?
That's it. I just want a Van Helsing movie that Van Helsing's played by Danny DeVito. Thank you.
That would be spectacular. I really, every time I think of Van Helsing, I just really want to like do a double feature of watching the original Fright Night and the remake back to back every time, because also David Tennant, but I'm also like the variation and difference in how they portrayed Van Helsing between the two, I will never get over.
Don't get me started how much I love that. If you want to talk about gay movies, don't get me started how much I love those films. Okay, the next slide. Yeah, okay. So, for those of you who read the comic too, which love it, super great. The art in it, absolutely gorgeous. It
Oh,
is.
you bought it. I didn't know you bought it.
Oh my god, I love it. Yeah, it's been sitting on my shelf. I actually bought this and Carmilla at the same time.
Oh.
I read this one first.
So you
and
bought
I
Carmilla and
loved it.
Carmilla at the same time.
I sure did. Sure did. I in a glass darkly. My thoughts. Okay, so where my thoughts were with this, because first of all, there's so much. There's so much about this that I could talk about alone. But I think a lot of it plays in line with what we've talked about already. It has some amazing Asian American influence.
Representation.
Oh my god, the influence in it alone is absolutely fabulous. And the stories and spin that is put on this for the take itself is fantastic. And I implore you all, if a lot of the influence in this Carmilla was Germanic and like European, this one has a whole lot of like Asian influence, and it's so amazing and interesting to see it like played out and reflected, and how it changes the myth a bit, but still stays true. I wasn't a fan of the graphic novel. I thought Athena was I did not like Athena. I agree. I did like I loved the grandfather character. I thought that the grandfather character was such a great mix of everything I loved about the general and everything I wanted from the father, right? Like, I loved it. And I loved how the grandfather character automatically displayed so well, like, something unsaid about like the character, like it does well being like, and like dead parents, right? Like parents not there, right? Because the grandfather. And I love that. I loved it so much. Especially since when I read this at the time, I did not have any idea about why, right? Like just from the beginning, I didn't know the backstory of Carmilla. And then to hear like the different story of why Carmilla, like why Carmilla, the lore there, and influence there, but also the main character's backstory as well. I loved. But I borrowed the graphic novel. The art was beautiful. It was an interesting take on the original. I loved how they did the vampires. I didn't like how Athena treated her partner. It's rough. It's rough. It's rough. And I think it shows a different side of isolation, right? Where Machado's Carmilla shows like the geographical isolation. I think this graphic novel does a very good idea. Like it does a very good job at showing what it looks like. And this is something that I have gone through very recently and was struggling with and can speak to firsthand very well. This book, I think, does a very good job at showing what isolation from your partner because of work and the constraints of their life feels like, and how it feels to have like an absent partner. And unfortunately, like I'm a very mindful person. I know how to speak to those things. So it didn't affect us like it affects these things, but if you are somebody who does not know how to speak to that, if you are somebody who is not quite in tune with it, and you find somebody who is giving you the time of day, just like in Machado's Carmilla, it can very much change things, you know, and especially if this is, I can't remember if this is posted like in our timeline or not, but like, for example, if this was going on during COVID, um, think about how those doctors were all the time in the hospitals and there was never enough staff. I mean, it's still to this day, there's still never enough staff, right? So think about how if you are having a partner who's in the medical field and they're in like the hospitals all the time, that can be very isolating and lonely, especially if you're in a city where you don't really know anybody, just like in you have that geographical barrier, right? Like there's people all around you, but there's really nobody around you. And yeah, you could go to bars, but if you go to bars, are there, especially when you cross a certain threshold and you're in a certain state of mind, is a bar somewhere you should really be mentally if you are not of a good sound station of mind, right? Like you are a very compromised individual. It probably isn't the best place for you at that point in time because if you're isolated, lonely, and compromised, you're probably going to very easily fall susceptible to influences beyond your control, right? Like influential people such as Carmilla, right? Like I think that is a very I think that's a very important thing that I didn't appreciate about that this graphic novel set up very well that I now see after reading Carmilla, that I'm like, wow, that hats off. I did not get that in the first run through, but now I'm like, dang, that was pretty sneaky. But the thing that I love the most about this is the mother figure, is the bar owner, the one who runs the bar, who I definitely see in my head as, if anybody has seen the 5th season of American Horror Story, I definitely see it as, oh my God, I forgot the actor's name, but they play, oh my God, it's Dennis O'Hare, is the actor. I definitely see Dennis O'Hare would be the, is it Mai Tai? What is the, it was like a fun pun. Yeah, Mai Tai. My name is Mai Tai now, and you know it. At the end, and it's like this big, like, reveal. Are
you talking about Dennis O'Hare portraying Cleopatra in Hotel?
They weren't Cleopatra. They were, my God, Liz Taylor.
Thank you.
Liz Taylor. I was like, what is the name? I was like, it's Taylor, and I couldn't remember what the first part was.
Because I remember at one point during the season, they had a Cleopatra wig, and that's apparently what I latched onto.
Right. Yeah. No, but I love that because...
Well, Elizabeth did famously play Cleopatra.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I just, which, let's latch on to that part too, like, of... which that's a connection I didn't even click, was American Horror Story, and that dynamic and how great that is for season 5. That just clicked in my head. Wow, Carmilla vibes there. But yeah, I loved the whole mother reveal of that bit, and how, if we're going to talk about the general and well, I guess they didn't combine the general. I thought they kind of did, but now I'm like going back and rereading it. I'm like, oh no, they didn't. I forgot about this guy because I'm on a page and I was like, oh no. The general.
Also, I'm really surprised our mom hasn't popped in for this one.
She might have forgot, but it's okay. But yeah, I loved that I forgot what I was saying. But the concept of Mai Tai, I loved that character and how what they did with her in the graphic novel compared to the mother character in the book and the way they ran with that. That was absolutely one of my favorite things. And that's why I think I was so disappointed in when I found out that that was absolute malarkey about the general being potentially queer, because that subplot was just so rich for me, of being like, here is this protector, here is this defender, here is this like lore of like, oh, we can feed this person, but they weren't a vampire. I ruined it for Kaylee by telling her. It's okay. I needed it ruined. I needed it ruined. I needed it to be ruined. It was ruined, but in the right way. Like, I needed it to be ruined. It's okay. It's okay. It happens. I'd rather live a life where I'm not living my own reality of like truth about a novel, right? Like, it needed to be real. Instead of me being like, since that was a stupid fact, I choose to ignore it. No, that was a really good fact that actually changes a lot. But no, I absolutely loved that. Oh God, also, it made it funnier in my head when I was like, it's a classic CC Winston mess around. It made it funnier in my head too when I was like, oh yeah, it would be Winston. Duh, that would be great. But yeah, the graphic novel, I enjoyed the first time around, and then after reading it and like going through the pages while looking at it now, I'm like, yeah, different influence, different take, but still cool.
Like a good companion.
Yeah,
to
it's
the original.
Yeah, it definitely takes its own liberties. And
like it's a retelling, but it
has its own layers to it.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely has its own layers to it.
That's how I feel like with Carmilla the web series, because that was my exposure to Carmilla in general, and I really like the liberties that they took with the story there. It is not a one-to-one adaptation or recreation, but I do like the weird ness of what's going on in it that they felt like they could include that made it its own and stand on its own.
Right. Well, and I think that's super important too, right? Is that like there's so much in Carmilla that does like it is transcendental. It does stand the test of time. It is so prolific and potent and powerful that it can be layered onto other, like all of these other facets. It can be layered onto all of these other stories. It's still Carmilla, but you can layer these other beautiful elements onto it. And I think that like that in itself, I think is just absolutely fascinating. And that's why I was like aside from the artwork, I'm a slut for good artwork.
I think with like reimagining a classic too, it's like hard to ignore, like so much time has passed. And
right.
You might have even read it when you were a kid, and as an author or graphic whatever, you wanted
How do
to
you honor the truth with adding your own?
Like if you rewrote it, you would explicitly make the general Julius Pepperwood queer, etc.
Right.
So it's like one of those things that's like been around for so long that you so many people have their different headcanons, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Are we good to move on to the next slide?
Oh yeah, is it our stars?
Nope.
Oh, has the discussion changed anything for you? Yeah, I found out that my my headcanon was a lie, but that's fine. It's cool.
It's shattered.
I feel like Kaylee's literary analysis and interpretation and notes has definitely changed a few different elements of Carmilla and what I originally didn't see. Mostly because when I was reading Carmilla, I was like, there's so much descriptive dialogue. And then she's coming in here with like Mother Maiden Crone. I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of vaguely picked up on that at first. So I'm really glad I kind of picked up on it, but you elaborated on it to make sure that I picked up on the right thing. So like the validity of having that, I really enjoyed.
I might miss that there's 4 people sitting at that damn table, but I will definitely. I'll be there to get that literary analysis for you. I'll get the subliminal. I'll get that subliminal in the background. I'll tell you why the drapes are blue.
I'll tell you why the river was a river of blood.
Yeah, I will.
Norman said it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine it, reader. A river of blood. Iconic. Thanks, Carmen. I regret not tagging you in the Instagram post.
You can't. She doesn't she only lets she doesn't allow people to tag her because I was trying to, and she has her tagging limited.
I wasn't sure her handle, and I was like,
I had to do that today.
It's fine.
Yeah. I had to limit I got tagged in a spam post. I used to get tagged in them a lot more. It'd be like $500 Shein gift card, and I hadn't gotten one for a while. And I got one today that was a spam post. You know, it's a random account will tag you. So I had to change it to only people that I follow. So
yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
I'm sure Carmen would love to see it. But
we love you, Carmen. Your edition was great. We loved it.
Yeah.
Even if I believed a lie.
But I mean, it's a book. We all, give this. It was all fiction.
Also, shout out to the artist for Left Boob. Shout out to the artist for Left Boob. I will always be a fan of Left Boob.
Who did the art for the book?
I don't know. Hold on. I don't know off the top of my head. I know it's in here. Hold on.
Yeah. We could tag them.
Our favorite Left Boob. Illustrations, Robert Craza.
Okay, Rob.
Cover design by Kimberly Glider.
I definitely think that
Ernst Haeckel or Haeckel.
Oh, nice.
For this.
Yeah, for that.
The illustrations in the book was Robert Craza.
Robbie. Hey, Robbie. Also, Claudia says, and I think this is true, just because of the way that she rearranged her name, the way that Carmen, I think that she got a kick out of it because, people are going to think it's real.
I love that for her.
Yeah. I love it's like one of them things.
I love when the author develops this, you're going to trust me because I edited this thing and you are apparently subject to confirmation bias.
Yeah.
Or author bias.
Yeah.
I love being a gullible fool when that is the case, because if I am fooled and I am reading everything so in depth with modern books, I'm stupid. But when it comes to a classic,
I know. I'm like, I'm always like, for somebody who's like, white men are sus, classic white men, I hate that literature. I'm always like, why am I going to believe a classic white man every time? I just believe it. I'm duped every time. And then I read something and then I'm like,
bamboozled.
I was bamboozled. I believed it. My talks. One of my many toxic traits in the book world there. Next slide.
And our movie pairings.
Oh yeah, we did Crimson Peak. Dang, we got so many of these. Okay. Right, we did Crimson Peak. If you joined us, it was great. If you didn't, we have established there's something called Nerf gun rules. This was a lovely gothic. It was very enjoyable. We all had a great time. Our boy Tom Hiddleston was in it. It was super fun. Super great adventure. It actually paired super well with this.
Guillermo del Toro,
super fun. The visual effects were delicious. However, there's a scene. It will catch you off guard. if things don't bother you, cool. If things bother you, Nerf gun rules. There is a scene where something happens from the head up and it catches you like out of the blue. You have no idea it's coming, and you're like, "Oh, did that just happen?" So we've established Nerf gun rules, which means we need to be warned if something is happening out of the blue from the head up. If it is not a slasher or any kind of like specific attention, like horror film, right? This was a gothic. We didn't think we were getting that in a gothic. We have Nerf gun rules now. Thanks for that, Crimson Peak. We love that.
It came
love
from
that.
extreme left field.
Extreme.
Are we mad about it?
No.
Only because we were not warned by the other admin who was.
It was great. It was great. We were here for it. We just didn't know it was coming.
Yeah.
So Nerf gun rules apply now.
So in the future movie night, we will be using Teleparty in order to watch whatever we are going to be watching. That way we can all chat in unison and watch in unison.
Yes.
And see us
so well.
Yell at Laura for not warning us in unison.
It worked out really nicely, and it works with most streaming platforms, I believe. Yeah.
Yes. So it's pretty versatile. If you see that we have a weird pick, it's mostly because it's probably like the one that if it was pre-selected, like our next month movies are pre-selected, so we are not doing a poll. We're trying to also be accessible and make sure that it will work with Teleparty in the future. For April's pick, since it is Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes, we are doing Ghost Ship and Mars Attacks. So we're super excited.
Okay,
I'm really excited to terrorize people with Ghost Ship, so I'm very excited.
Next slide. Oh yeah, Vamps.
My favorite movie ever. You can see it whenever I stop my cam. This is my all-time favorite movie that I made Kinsey watch.
I love it.
And they also had the soil, the hometown soil thing was a plot point in this film. Because I don't know, I guess it was a political statement as well. Because remember their hometown soil, the package was opened and emptied. So she didn't get her soil, so her like back was hurting. Sorry, I've seen it way too much. I'm expecting, but it was like, I
was having difficulty with the slide. That's why I had a weird face.
No, but it's so cute. And also, if you want to ship Alicia Silverstone and Kristen Ritter, go ahead, go for it, because like
it's headcanon. And I feel like Sigourney Weaver's character is definitely how I see the mother in Carmilla. And it's pretty much why I like fought tooth and nail to have it in the poll, because I felt like what Crimson Peak covered, Vamps covered all the other stuff.
Oh, I actually like that thought.
Honestly, whenever it comes to this movie, you would not believe the star power that is in this film. Malcolm McDowell plays Van Helsing, and Kristen Johnston, Wallace Shawn, Taylor Negroni, who's passed away. He was the pizza guy for like 5 seconds. Like there's so many good people in this film, and it's free on YouTube. I highly encourage you to watch it. I found it probably like, I don't know, in 2014, 2015.
It also floats around on Tubi TV if you use that service as well, which is a free service.
Okay, yeah.
I think if we use Tubi TV with Teleparty, I think we'll still have to deal with ads, but that is also something that we are looking forward to using in the future and figuring out how that will all work with Teleparty.
Can bamboozle on the ads.
But like if you need something a little bit more lighthearted than Crimson Peak, go watch Vamps before you go to sleep.
Literally,
for sure. And also, while we are on our movie pairings, Kaylee and I, our dad is a DJ. Kaylee has some experience DJing. I do not. But for our books, I do attempt, if I care enough about it, to give a playlist that goes along with the themes or certain things that happen in the book. I made one for Carmilla. It is available in our playlist section in our YouTube if you want to go and experience that wild ride of music.
It is very fun. It is very gay. It is very it's got Chapel Roan, so
yes,
we love that here.
Gandhi Carpenter, Olivia Rodrigo, and a few others that I felt like echoed any themes, certain scenes, or like emotions that Carmilla had in the book, not the character, but in the book.
Right.
So yeah, that's always an option. I know there's a few different playlists that I have made in the past for like Frostbite. There's actually a playlist within the book itself for Frostbite that is all compiled from that specific playlist that was included, and I just made it available for accessibility if anybody wanted to have that available.
Oh, shoot.
Yes.
Yes, Vimoroba. Also, Mars Attacks. So, yeah.
We're not sure when it's going to be scheduled because we still need to finalize our April calendar, and then we will post it hopefully on the 1st or the 2nd of April. I'm always apprehensive of posting things on April 1st. So
yeah, just stay offline on April 1st.
Right. And now our final slide, your feature presentation. Our ratings.
Yeah.
So, Jess, did you flip-flop your rating or is it still current?
I'm going to stick with the 2.5. I rated it right after finishing it and being like, I didn't get any of that. What the fuck? That was kind of boring. Like, I didn't really like get it. I mean, I'm glad I read it, and it's like I said, one that I'm going to reread physically eventually. And possibly I didn't read the graphic novel, but I feel like I would appreciate some things with like having the two read back to back. I feel like I need to do that as well. But yeah, the audiobook, which again with the classic, there's so many different variations. I didn't do the David Tennant one. I don't know who, it was a woman that did mine. Because there's a lot of audiobooks on Everand of Carmilla.
Yeah.
So many, and I didn't know which one to choose, so I just did one of them. And I feel like it's probably just straightforward Carmilla with, no editing or anything.
Because I know the David Tennant one is a dramatization version.
Ooh.
And it has added in special effects for audio, like the funeral procedure and procedural, and birds chirping when they're on their walks, and it creates an element of atmosphere.
Okay, Vimoroba. I think, yeah.
Yeah. If the female narrator was like Phoebe Fox, that's the David Tennant one on Audible.
Oh no, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, she was a good narrator. I'm not picky about this. Was narrated by Karen Cass.
Yeah, it's different. I'm sorry.
No, there's so many different ones, but I picked it because this is the cover.
Oh. Yeah.
Very Vamps.
It is. It reminded me of Vamps a lot. Like,
right. My rating is a 4.5 because I do really, really enjoy the story and the adaptability and the versatility of Carmilla, and it has a very near and dear place in my heart. The only reason why it's not a 5 is because of descriptive language. I'm going to be honest. I really like dialogue. I like what you can specifically tell me, but when it comes to certain types of descriptive language, especially in classic literature, my brain does not brain. So it's 4.5.
I gave mine a 3.25. It's a classic. Would I have gone for it? Probably not. It's good. I'd recommend it. I think there's a lot to be had. I have an appreciation for it. I think this is going to live rent free in my head? No, not really. I did the Megan Follows audiobook for the reread. It was a 4 for me too. I ended up doing a 3 because I got mad. Carmilla got 86. Otherwise, it was probably a 3.75. Yeah, I did it as a 3.25 because it's a classic. It's just a classic. I don't want to say it's just a classic. It has a lot of depth. It has a lot of there's a lot to it. Clearly, this is the longest conversation we've had, and I'm telling you, it is because of how much we had to unpack in this book. Like that, this is not the norm. It is because we had so much to unpack with this.
I had to kind of reframe it and think like, how would I rate this book without giving it like being like excusing, oh, it was written this long ago and it's a classic. Like I want to rate it alongside all of the other books that I read, and that's where it was at for me. Just because, and I feel like it wouldn't be a 5-star, wouldn't live rent free in my head, like you said. Like to me, that's kind of like 5-star iconic behavior is like, I cannot stop thinking about you. And
Carmilla just haunts me. That's why it's so high.
Yeah.
There's a lot in it that for me, I think was left. There was a lot in it that was left unanswered for me. There was a lot I wanted more from. There was a lot. There wasn't enough good for her for me. There wasn't enough good for her. There wasn't enough camp. There wasn't enough.
Which
I know.
Man in 1871 really write a good for her. I mean, he could have.
Well,
he could have fucking done it. Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu. You could have fucking done it.
Well, that's
get back from the dead.
I think that's the problem that I had, right? Was and let's be real, when we get to the end, it was very clear how I think that's where I started to have so many questions. And that's where I started to be like, okay, what was the point of writing this very heavily queer novel if you're going to punish me for it? Which there's the answer, right? Is the way Jess said his name. Yes.
I think it's
yes.
Right.
I think, right, like to see,
like it should have had a happy ending.
Well,
or a semblance.
I think it's important, right? Is one of my biggest things as a reader, and this is something that I as a reader, not just as a reader, but like as somebody who consumes media, period, right? Because this isn't just a book club. This is a multimedia horror experience, right? Our club.
Oh, fun fact, we're a roller coaster. Hi.
Hey, not. This is a multimedia horror experience. But
a haunted house, it's fine.
This is a haunted home, Kenzie. Don't disgrace this. The cross stitch in the back said so. But I think it's really important to acknowledge the fact like this is not a book praising queer love. Though there is queer love in it, it is not praising queer love. It is talking about
the series is what you want, Claudia.
Oh, woman needs to rewrite the story where they end up together.
Oh, the web series. Okay, no spoilers.
It's not a book. It's not a book about queer love. It is a book about Western influence on people and the effects and the fear. Let's keep in mind, there is a reason this is under the horror section. Because at the end of the day, this is a book of horrors. What is the horror? It's Western influence. What is it going to do to our women? What is it going to do to our towns? what are we, the men, going to have to do about it? And I think at the end of the day, that's why I ended up having to do it as a 3.25, because at the end of the day, it's a book about loneliness, isolation, ignoring women, ignoring their needs and desires, and then punishing them for it. And in whatever allegory you would like to put it.
Yeah.
While men get to do whatever they want.
And I really want to say, if you really want like the shoe is on the other foot type feel, the web series for Carmilla is very much what I think everyone would want from them, like a happy ending. And the men, yes, they're still dumb. Yes, they still have no idea like what really is going on.
But I like dumb men in an Orin Host Club way.
Yeah, it's more like that than anything. You still have villains that are men, but like the women are taken more seriously, for sure. They have personhood, and the absolute refusal of being like a lesbian in 2014, 2015 on the internet,
right,
at university, because that's like the basic setup for the web series, and refusing men, going like, yeah, I'm so not into you, dude. That's really, you're barking up the wrong tree. And just trying to be kind of polite to an extent, but also like once the hint is not given, they double down and they take it seriously. And that's part of the reason why I like the web series so much, and why I've always wanted to finish Carmilla, to really understand what originally happened and the differences that they made that made it so much better and palatable and enjoyable for a queer audience. Yeah. And without further ado, do we have any other things that we want to say for April before we wrap this up?
If we haven't mentioned it yet, in April we will be having a very special treat.
We have not mentioned this yet.
Speaking of vampires, in April, on April 30th, we will have a very special treat dropping for you all, for our vampire lovers, specifically for our Night's Edge First Light lovers. We have a very exclusive spoiler, our first of hopefully many more. We will have the very first ever Double Feature Creature Crypts spoiler soup episode of Liz Karen's Night's Edge First Light spoiler soup flavor episode, where we're going to be having a absolute full like disclosure, full spoilers ahead conversation about both books, and all the fun nitty gritty details, all of the everything that we can't talk about anywhere else, anything she can't talk about on tour that's been exciting to her that she hasn't been able to say anywhere else yet, and to come, because she's about to start her tour, we're gonna have here, and it will be after
a week after it gets released.
It will be a week after First Light drops. So if you would like to join, we have already recorded it. It's going to post on the 30th. Get those pre-orders in, because remember, if you pre-order your copy, I would recommend either Underbrush books, or I know Death by TDR, I think still has some. And I think there's one other, but I know those two for sure. But if you pre-order your books, I think Books Are Magic might have some too. I don't know if they do pre-orders, but if you if they ship, but if you order from one of them, you can do your pre-orders. Oh, it's upside down. You can do your pre-orders and you can get your lovely little sticker. If you pre-order like a digital copy and you message Liz on Instagram and you're like, hey, I got a pre-ordered copy. This is my proof of purchase. She can send you a copy. She can send you a daylight sticker as well. Yeah. So you have a week before our
And it'll be up.
edition goes up. And it'll be up. So if you don't get it like right away, but there's also going to be like a little author chat, I think on the 28th at Underbrush, that V and I, we like to Underbrush, when they do their digital book club chats or author chats, they post the link so anybody can join them. And I didn't I like joining them too because I like supporting the authors and supporting Underbrush. So I didn't want to post it before their event. I wanted to post it after, so that way I could help encourage and promote like people joining their thing. And then we would post ours after.
But please understand, Spoiler Soup is meant for spoilers.
Full of spoilers.
It talks about briefly Night's Edge, but focuses mainly on First Light as well as Amoxicillin.
Yes.
And
a
short story.
Yes. So we can post, I think we can post the link for Amoxicillin. We'll post it in we can do like a little tab on the Discord for we could do a little tab for Spoiler Soup and do Night's Edge, First Light for a thread and Amoxicillin. We can post that in there.
And we'll also have a graphic explaining when, if you forget, or for other people who are not currently here, when to expect it, what it is.
Yes.
And all the good nitty-gritty details on that.
It's a lot of fun. Liz is absolutely wonderful.
She's a gem. She's perfect.
Yeah.
Definitely top tier author, very down to earth. Love her to bits.
She's very sweet. So, but that's that. And then we'll have book dates, and then we'll have the book postings coming up soon, and then we'll have a very fun April with Dead Silence. So
I have to throw in here that I Googled Carmilla, the web series, and one of the producers is You by Kotex.
Yes.
Yes. Kotex brand is a producer for Carmilla, the web series. And I thought that would be cute.
I love that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I love it too.
They have side videos and behind the scenes directed toward that sponsorship as well. So that is definitely something to look into if you think that's like the most endearing thing in the world.
Yeah. So the Carmilla web series is as if you're watching a girl vlogging her experience.
Kind of like Lizzie Bennet Diaries.
Yeah.
That is oh God, I love the Lizzie Bennet Diaries.
So she's like, my roommate disappeared, but I'm getting a new one.
Yep.
Carmilla. I mean, I haven't seen it. I'm just assuming that it's.
She is not happy to have a new roommate. I can tell you it's the other way around.
Okay.
Where's my roommate?
My roommate disappeared, and now I have to be with this bitch Carmilla.
Love it. Love it.
One of those.
So, with that, we leave you these lovely parting gifts. We encourage you all to watch the Carmilla series, to come join us back for next month. Next month, we promise it's not going to be as long.
Hey man,
but
Dead
will be equally as exciting.
And don't forget that the calendar will be posted probably April 2nd, let's be honest.
Yes.
So if you want to schedule anything to be here or be for movie night or whatever, you will have that month ahead coming soon.
Yes.
We
love you
always
all.
have the calendar.
Bye.
Yay! Bye, Ashley. Bye, Claudia. Bye, Vimaroda.
Bye, guys.
You
Thanks,
guys have
I
a
know
great
you are.
night.
Yeah. Bye.
How do I? Oh, there we go.